먼저 탑시드 권한을 행사할 변현재 선수와 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. 동족전으로 쭉 만들 계획도 있으신 걸로 알고 있는데
이번에 진짜 4토스를 원했었거든요. 다른 시드 권한 있는 사람들이 토스를 원하는 사람들이 많거든요.
현재한테 아마 뽑히지 않을까 싶네요.
빌베 약간 길면서 좀 현재의 말이 될 생각입니다 오늘.
일단 첫 번째 뽑을 사람은 이제 결정했습니다.
그 선수 맛보고 싶은 토스. 오? 와 배병호예요?
배병우?
와 배병대.
다른 조에 배려를 해준 거죠.
대기실에서 현재한테 처음으로 뽑는다고 이야기를 한 5번 넘게 들었거든요.
아니 일단 현재한테 너무 실망했습니다. 먼저 뽑히는 것보다는 범수가 뽑히고 그다음에 제가 뽑혀야지 가장 좋은 사이즈인데
기조하고 싶은 선수 있으세요? 박상현.
제가 본 시드권자 중에 가장 약해 보여요.
저기 가면 8강 진출이에요?
아유, 확정입니다.
누군가요? 와. 오. 야 박상현 D그룹 가고 싶다고 했는데요.
근데 저는 이제 두 선수 다 팬이기 때문에 좀 높은 데서 만나는 걸 좀 보고 싶습니다.
제가 뭐 영승이 형한테 악감정이 있어서 그런 건 아니고 사실 B조에 가고 싶어가지고 안 뽑히려고 그랬던 건데
이번에 선택되면은 거의 픽스가 지금 될 가능성이 굉장히 높거든요.
강한 선수랑 붙는 걸 좋아하잖아요. 4강에서 떨어뜨린 기억이 있거든요. 그것도 복수를 하실 겸 저를 뽑는 게 어떤가.
강한 선수랑 붙는 거 좋아해서 재호 형이랑은 안 할 거고요. 강하다고 생각 안 합니다.
강하다 생각 안 하네. 그러네요. 이재호. 진짜 이재호.
한 도발이 생각보다 제 마음을 많이 흔들었어요. 잘하긴 하는데 이 정도까지인가 싶거든요. 의구심이 있어서 뽑았습니다.
작전이 성공한 것 같아서 너무 기분이 좋고요. 굉장히 재밌는 게임 할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
여기서 선택 과연 박상현을 보낼지 이재호를 보낼지 두 번 보낸 다음에 누굴 데리고 올지 그 부분에서 이야기를 나눠봐야 되는데
다들 너무 만족하고 있어가지고 뭔가 선뜻 바꾸기가 좀 윤철이한테는 혹시 뭐 재호 형이랑 바꾸면 좋아할지 좀 묻고 싶어가지고.
저를 바꾼다고요? 그런 일은 없었으면 좋겠습니다. B조에 가수 있잖아.
16명 중에서 제일 맛있다고 자부할 수 있고요. 시작부터 죽음의 조를 만들면서 갈 필요는 없을 것 같아서
제가 봤을 땐 유진우 선수가 박상현 선수랑 바뀌는 게
현재 형 만약에 그럴 생각이면은 그냥 안 바꿨으면 좋겠어요.
그 C조가 정말 셉니다. 근데 정영재만 없어지고 이재호가 저기로 가면 얼마나 시청자분들이 재밌어 할까. 저는 이런 생각이 굉장히 들었거든요. 변현재 선수가 저를 아주 쉽게 이길 수 있거든요.
원래 제 자리를 좀 찾아갈 것 같아서 좀 많이 씁쓸하긴 한데요.
두근두근하는 상황이거든요.
처음 딱 손에 잡는 이름이
네. 이재호랑 두고 현재 자리는 없거든요. 와! 정영재. 축하드려요.
저는 그냥 던져봤는데 또 너무 신기하고요. 저도 살리고 그리고 C조가 죽음의 조가 되면서 다 재밌게 될 것 같아서 참 만족스럽습니다. 저는.
A조가 약간은 힘들게 이제 올라갈 거라고 생각을 해놔가지고 뭐 저는 크게 상관없어요.
지치지 않는 청춘과 열정, 젊음을 대표하는 에너지 드링크 아식스와 퍼포먼스로 앞서가다 LG 울트라 기어가 함께합니다. ASL 시즌12 16강 A조 경기로 인사드립니다. 안녕하세요, 이영경입니다. 지난 15일에 펼쳐진 조 지명식을 통해서 A조부터 D조까지의 모든 조 편성이 완료됐습니다. 그 어느 하나의 조도 놓칠 수 없는 라인업으로 구성됐죠. 자, 오늘은 16강 A조 경기가 여러분을 기다리고 있습니다. 과연 선수들은 어떤 마음가짐으로 16강 경기를 준비해 왔을지 첫 번째 경기 앞두고 있는 변현재 선수와 배병우 선수 만나보시죠. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 네, 먼저 변현재 선수 지난 시즌 굉장히 아쉽게 준우승으로 마무리했습니다. 이번 시즌은 또 탑시드 권한을 가지고 조지명식에 참여했는데 A조 경기 앞두고 계신 소감은 어떠신가요?
일단은 좀 긴장이 많이 되는 것 같고요. 좀 16강에서 떨어질까봐 좀 두려움이 좀 있는 것 같아요.
또 가장 강력한 우승 후보로서의 기대를 많이 받고 있기 때문에 부담도 좀 있을 것 같은데 준비 과정은 어땠나요?
그 부담 때문에 좀 힘든 것 같아요. 네, 저는 준비는 좀 잘했다라고 생각하는데
네.
부담감이 좀 있는 것 같아요.
배병우 선수와도 좀 이야기를 나눠봐야 할 것 같습니다. 24강 이변의 주인공에 있었던 또 배병우 선수인데요.
네네.
A조 경기 사실 개인적으로 별로 좀 마음에 들어하지 않는 느낌을 좀 받았는데 준비 과정은 어땠나요?
아니요, 저는 생각보다는 그래도 조가 마음에 들었고 연습을 좀 많이 했는데 오늘 좀 괜찮을 것 같아요. 네, 자신 있습니다.
배병우 선수 하면 이 승부사의 기질을 24강에서 좀 톡톡히 엿볼 수 있었는데 패자전에서 4드론을 쓰셨던 24강이 있었어요. 그래서 오늘도 또 그런 배병우 선수의 좀 강력한 승부사 기질을 볼 수 있지 않을까 싶은 분들도 많으실 것 같은데 준비 과정에서 이런 것들도 좀 염두를 해두셨나요?
네, 일단 준비를 좀 하긴 했는데 빌드 관련해가지고는 비밀로 하겠습니다.
본인이 8강에 진출할 수 있는 시나리오에 대해서는 좀 어떤 구상을 하고 계신가요?
일단은 첫 경기를 잡는 게 좀 중요하지 않나 그렇게 생각합니다.
반대로 변현재 선수는 배병우 선수의 이런 좀 극단적인 승부사 플레이를 좀 조심해야겠다는 생각을 하셨을 것 같아요.
네, 일단은 병호 형님이 24강에서 좋은 모습으로 올라왔더라고요. 그 예전에는 제가 이제 저그전 단판을 좀 많이 좋아했었는데
네.
어느 순간 좀 제가 실력이 좀 오르다 보니까 저그전 단판이 좀 약간 두렵더라고요. 3판 2선이나 5판 3선은 그래도 좀 뒤를 바라보면서 이제 게임을 할 수 있는데 단판이 좀 지금은 무서운 것 같아요.
본인이 가장 먼저 배병우 선수를 뽑으셨잖아요.
그래도 이제 제가 제일 자신 있는 종족전이긴 한데
네.
예전에 비해서는 좀 약간 두려워진 것 같아요.
과연 이 약한 모습을 보이는 변현재 선수의 모습이 연막일지 아니면 진짜 좀 긴장되는 모습에서 좀 비롯된 것인지도 궁금해지는데요. 이번에는 양 선수에게 보내주신 팬 여러분들의 질문을 전달드리겠습니다. 먼저 변현재 선수에게 질문 드리도록 하겠습니다. 변현재 선수 하면 생각나는 플레이 역시 견제가 아닐까 싶습니다. 변현재 선수의 견제는 이 다른 상대 선수에게 정말 좀 험한 말이 나올 정도로 멘탈을 흔드는 견제다라는 말들도 듣고 있는데 본인이 이렇게 좀 상대를 잘 흔드는 이유가 뭐라고 생각하시는지 질문 주셨어요.
상대를 잘 흔드는 비결은 일단은 멀티태스킹 일단 기본적으로 돼야 되고요. 이제 유닛이 나오면 그 유닛을 어떻게 쓰면 좋을지만 생각하면 돼요. 저는 이제 유닛을 생각보다 좀 막 쓰는 편이기도 하거든요. 그냥 좀 그 유닛을 어떻게 쓰느냐가 중요한 것 같아요.
근데 변현재 선수 보면 진짜 그 견제를 진심으로 즐기고 있다는 느낌을 좀 받아요. 상대방이 좀 흔들리면 흔들릴수록 좀 뭔가 변현재 선수에게 카타르시스가 있나요?
일단은 게임 이길 때 그렇게 이기는 게 제일 좋기 때문에
네.
계속 그렇게 이기는 것 같아요.
자, 이번에는 이어서 배병훈 선수에게 좀 전해주신 질문인데요. 딱 한마디로 질문을 남겨주셨습니다. 배병훈 선수에게 4드론이란?
필살 전략이라고 볼 수 있겠죠. 예.
아무래도 24강의 그 패자전 경기가 많은 분들의 기억에 좀 각인이 된 것 같습니다. 필살의 전략이라고 하니까 또 오늘은 어떤 전략을 준비해 오셨을지도 굉장히 기대되네요. 자, 마지막으로 두 선수에게 각오를 들어보도록 하겠습니다. 변현재 선수.
일단은 목표는 우승까지이기 때문에 이제 16강은 좋은 모습으로 진출할 수 있는 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
네, 배병훈 선수.
예, 저는 일단 목표는 8강이고요. 요즘에 그 배병대 그 멤버들이랑 팬분들이 많이 응원해 주시는데 네, 최선을 다해가지고 결과로 보답하겠습니다.
네, 두 선수 16강의 문을 멋지게 열어주시기 부탁드리겠습니다. 인터뷰 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 첫 경기를 앞두고 있는 변현재 선수와 배병훈 선수와 함께 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 24강과는 또 다른 전운이 감도는 두 선수의 인터뷰였는데요. 자, 두 번째 경기를 앞두고 있는 선수들 역시 만나봐야겠죠. 박상현 선수와 정영재 선수 만나보시죠. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
자, 먼저 박상현 선수. 첫 진출이었던 시즌 8을 제외하고는 쭉 16강에 올라오고 계시지만 이번 시즌만큼은 조금은 좀 다른 느낌으로 16강을 준비해 오셨지 않았을까 싶어요. 경기 앞두고 있는 기분은 어떠신가요?
일단 재밌을 것 같고요. 좀 떨리고 이런 느낌이 좋아요.
이런 느낌을 좀 즐기는 박상현 선수, 지난 시즌부터 많은 분들이 좀 익히 알고 있지 않을까 싶은데요. 정영재 선수 역시 이번 시즌12 16강 조에 대한 좀 만족감을 얻으셨을 것 같습니다. 좀 어떠신가요?
C조보다는 훨씬 낫다고 생각하고요. 근데 막상 와보니까 그렇게 좋진 않네요. 느낌.
또 정영재 선수 이번 시즌 목표가 또 첫 시드 4강이 목표라고 말씀하셨는데 이 A조를 통해서 그 목표에 조금 더 가까워진 것 같나요?
요새 짭제 현재가 좀 소위 말하면 미쳐 날뛰고 있어가지고 좀 무섭네요, 솔직히.
기분 좋으실 것 같아요, 박상현 선수.
아니요, 영재 마음속으로는 자신감 있을 것 같아요. 번에 떨어져가지고 제가.
저번 시즌에는 그렇죠. 박상현 선수가 정영재 선수와 역시 단판에서 만났는데 그때의 승자는 정영재 선수였습니다. 박상현 선수는 그래서 좀 떨어지고 말았는데 이번 시즌 맞대결은 좀 어떨 거라고 예상하시나요, 박상현 선수?
진짜 신기하게 맵도 똑같은데 영재 형이 뭘 준비해왔는지에 따라서 좀 갈릴 것 같아요. 평범하게 해주면은 저는 편한데 좀 독특한 거 하면 빡셀 것 같아요.
뭐 준비한 것들을 상세하게 말씀해 주실 수는 없겠지만 준비 과정이 어땠는지도 정영재 선수 좀 듣고 싶어요. 아무래도 박상현 선수와의 첫 경기 가장 많이 신경 쓰셨을 것 같거든요.
이번에는 전략을 좀 바꿨어요. 왜냐면 첫 맵도 너무 무난한 맵이고 수없이 좀 많이 한 게임이라서 그래서 이번엔 첫 경기 비중을 거의 안 두고 이제 승잡 최종전 이렇게
오히려
옛 경기를 많이 연습했어요.
네, 평범하게 하지는 않겠다라는 정영재 선수의 좀 각오가 엿보이는데 이번에는 양 선수에게 팬 여러분들의 질문을 드려보겠습니다. 박상현 선수에게 남겨주셨던 질문 중 하나예요. 이 변현재 선수의 마지막 지명권 사용으로 인해서 이재호 선수에서 정영재 선수로 좀 선수가 바뀌었는데 최종 확정 전에 박상현 선수는 변현재 선수의 선택에 따르겠다라고 이야기를 했어요. 솔직히 정영재 선수가 왔을 때 좀 어땠는지 궁금해하시는 것 같아요.
솔직히 말하면 저는 피조에 있는 토스 형이랑 바꿀 줄 알았는데 영재 형이 와가지고 근데 그렇게 막 좋진 않았어요. 좀 피조에 있는 뭐 범수 형이라든지 토스를 데려올 줄 알았는데 갑자기 영재 형이 오셔가지고 깜짝 놀랐어요.
본인이 이재호 선수를 뽑았지만 그래도 테란보다는 좀 토스를 기대했는데 만족스럽지는 않은 변현재 선수의 선택이었다라고 대답을 해주셨네요. 정영재 선수의 질문입니다. A조에 속해 있는 변현재 선수, 배병우 선수, 박상현 선수 라인업이 굉장히 좀 까다로운 선수지만 이 선수가 가장 까다롭겠다 하는 선수가 있나요?
일단 아무래도 역상성이다 보니까 현재가 제일 까다로울 것 같고요. 그리고 뭐 상현이도 좀 까다롭긴 한데 잘 모르겠어요. 일단 준비는 열심히 해야 합니다.
알겠습니다. 마지막으로 양 선수의 각오를 들어보면서 인터뷰 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. 박상현 선수 팬들에게 한 말씀 남겨주시죠.
재미있는 게임을 하고 싶고 근데 뭔가 현재 형 대 병우 형에서 병우 형이 이기면은 진짜 혼돈일 것 같아요. 그래서 뭔가 그냥 현재 형이 이겼으면 좋겠고 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
네, 정영재 선수.
오늘 일단 열심히 준비했으니까 이기든 지든 좋은 경기를 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 두 선수 준비한 대로 멋진 경기 펼쳐주시길 기대하겠습니다. 인터뷰 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.
자, 경기를 앞두고 있는 4명의 선수와 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 우승으로 향할 치열한 경쟁이 펼쳐질 16강 그 첫 번째 주 A조 경기가 여러분을 기다리고 있습니다. 과연 어떤 선수들이 8강에 오를 수 있을지 지금부터 경기를 통해 확인해 보시죠.
What's up, everybody? It is time to start the round of 16. We have wrapped up Korean Thanksgiving. Chuseok, as Koreans have called it. Call it now, and we'll probably call it in the future. I suck today.
Sometimes known as Chuseok.
AKA Chuseok. It's good to be back. We had, at least for me, a very restful Korean Thanksgiving. Mostly hung out and streamed and grinded on the ladder. How about you, Tastosis?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Hung out with my kids and all that. But, obviously we don't do a whole lot during Chuseok. It's kind of like, it used to be just a complete emptying of soul. Like, when we first moved out here, I remember Chuseok, I'd just be like, what the hell is going on today? There's nobody anywhere. Like, no cars in Gangnam and no people in the streets, and only 7-Eleven is open.
That's right. A lot of people would move out, or well, not move out, they would go and visit family outside of the city, and so you basically have the entire city empty out, and then it's just like a couple foreigners and people who aren't getting along with their families hanging out. It was a cool little period with a lot of downtime, and I enjoyed it, but it's good to be back, and I am ready to cast this round of 16.
Yeah, look at those groups. Absolutely phenomenal groups. Very, very excited about each and every one of these. I think, without any question, Group C is by far the hardest. It's like
Group C's insane.
It's the craziest group I've ever seen. All 4 of those guys should be top 8 this season. Yeah, it hurts my body. It hurts my mind.
It hurts my body.
It makes me happy though at the same time because I like pain, you know. And the fact that like 2 of these guys won't go to round of 8. There's going to be a couple guys there in round of 8 that it's like, no, we should actually just have Group C advance, you know?
And it's a tough one to call no matter how you cut it. But today we've got Group A. Now, I think the superstar of this group is obviously going to be Mini. But
Mini.
Oh, yeah. I mean, many would argue online the unorthodox 815 player may be advancing. But I would say Mini, you know, being maybe the best Protoss that we've ever had. Soma, I think, is a real contender to get out of this group. I cannot imagine 815 beating Soma in a ZVZ. Just want to put that out there right now. And Soma could take out JYJ or Mini really quickly. He's got a very sharp style. He's one of those really abusive Zergs early on. JYJ is somebody else I'm really interested in seeing how he performs because I think this is a real make or break for him. I think it is a group he is capable of getting out of, but if he's not in top form, I don't think he makes it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Soma and Mini are just completely monstrous for their races, whereas JYJ is still considered an up-and-comer. Yeah, 815, though, like, if he gets out of this group, he is like the most wily Zerg ever to have been born.
If he gets out of this group, this season of ASL was written by Disney. Okay,
something like that.
It was a feel-good summer blast of 815 winning the
Elsa's
ASL.
ice magic to get out of this group. That's about it, right? He found Aladdin's lamp.
Yeah,
no, it's all 3 wishes. The genie did not get freed, Tasteless. This is the only way.
The genie did not get the genie got trapped in a loophole where it had to keep giving wishes.
Yeah, this first match that we're going to be having here, once again in the hat as well. Actually, what do you think about the hat, Tasteless? Like wearing a hat here to play. I like to wear a hat when playing like important games. I used to, if you recall, at old like WCG tournaments, I always wore a hat to play.
Yeah.
Because
I like wearing hoods if I'm in arcades.
Yeah. Just anything that blocks peripheral vision a little bit I find to be very, very helpful in a competitive setting, right? Whether that's a hood or whether that's just a baseball cap that's kind of like pulled down kind of close to your eyes. You've been a cap guy.
I don't do caps very well.
No, if you put a hat on your head, it just doesn't look right. I'm like, are you hiding from the police? What are you doing here?
I just become an umpire suddenly.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So we're going to be going into this first match here. Mini versus 815. Look, 815 has managed to pull off some sneaky stuff. I'm sure he's got something interesting planned in this match. Let's see what happens. The first game of the round of 16, everybody, starts right now.
Glad you're back on track, Tasteless.
I'm back. And this is going to be on Polypoint. Forgot to mention that. This is going to be interesting to see what 815 has done, or what is planned, what he's going to do. If you guys missed the round of 24, go back and check the games. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Anybody who knows enough StarCraft knows there's certain tricks that sometimes work against even the best players, and he's managed to pull them off to get to the spot that he's in right now.
Yeah, he's, he played all right. He's played a little bit cheesy and all that, and we'll see what he can do against Mini. The thing is, Mini sometimes gets a little bit ahead of himself. So maybe that's where 815 can find a hole and get in there, right? Like, when you're trying to make your cybernetics core, like, before your forge, you never know. Like, something can go wrong there where your cannons just aren't quite ready for something.
Yeah, if I were to advise Mini going into this, I would just say pump the brakes. You know, play a really conservative, withdrawn game. Just be on the lookout. And you know, if it gets to a macro game, I think Mini wins easily. I think Mini's great strength is when he plays against, you know, Larva or Queen or these other Zergs that are so good at cutting corners, but then you have Mini on his side of the map cutting more corners than the Zerg is, and it's made for some really interesting, hyper-modern PvZs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I mean, he cuts so many corners that he actually becomes a circle at that point. No, that was all I was thinking about while you were talking, was saying that. But
That's what you were doing. You were like, when Tastosis is done talking, this is what I'm going to say.
That's right. I'm like, well, that's really what a circle is, right? It's like infinite lines that are next to each other. They're infinitely
small. A circle
small.
has infinite corners, does it not?
But really, they were all cut, Tasteless. This is trigonometry. You should have paid more attention.
By the way, this is like 9 hatch and 9 pool. So this is one of the more modern ways to play. This is it makes it a much bigger challenge for the gate first opening.
Yeah. Actually, that's exactly what I heard about this as well, that this is actually becoming a little bit popular right now, where you basically what it does is it gives you a little bit more larva for those initial Zerglings. So anything that's happening to you early on, you can kind of stop. And even though it will hiccup your economy a little bit with those extra larvae, if you don't need to make the lings, you then get to make those extra drones to kind of make up for it. So kind of cool to see that from 815.
There's also been a growing trend of just, especially since Mini's had so much success and really has changed the way the race is viewed. There's been a lot more ling floods. And so, this lets you not only get more lings out, but get your lings out much earlier. Now, Mini's committed. He's going to be trying to get a couple drones here. If he can, it's going to be huge. And he gets the first one, the one he had abused earlier. And that is just really big. Can he get a second is the big question now. Gonna loop back around here.
It looks like he's going to go ahead and kill off that one Zealot. The other one turning around and going home. The drone ready for the third hatchery now. But is there counterattack potential? He's got a lot of Zerglings.
Well, this is what's scary right now, is that the Protoss has to go back and has to basically seal off the entrance. There's a lot of lings coming. There's a possibility that, I guess maybe not. I was going to say it's possible Zerg might do an all-in, but normally you want to have ling speed if you do that, but I wouldn't count 8-15 out of doing an all-in at all here.
Yeah, no, you know what? Ling's speed takes too long, Tastosis, and it also takes a secondary resource. Screw that. Let's just go with slow lings. That's the way. There's more lings on the way, man. He's going for it.
Yeah, he's going to try to chip away at this gateway here and see what he cannot do. And if he breaks this open, 4 Zealots is still not quite enough to really keep the gateway alive. So he's going to have to pull some probes. He needs to start a cannon. He also needs to plug this up, probably with a forge behind where the empty spot is over here.
Oh my God, Tastosis.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Is Mini just going to insta-die to the 9-hatch-9 pool opener?
Yeah, no, I think he's probably dead now.
Wow.
Because he's going to lose the pylon. And I'll tell you, man, this is 815 is doing this because this is the way that Mini has been playing. But with a really good pull, he's actually kept that Zealot alive. There's a pylon remaking here. I still would put this at like a 95% chance Zerg wins. There's just not enough probes out here to really fight the lings in the main, and at the same time, there's certainly not enough minerals, I think, to have a cannon started, if I'm mathing this out correctly. He doesn't have enough for a cannon, and so it's 1 damage Zealot. And really, this is what we're seeing, and I know we kind of joke about 815 being a little bit cheesy, but the truth is he's definitely playing the meta.
Yeah.
As a lot of Protosses lose like this, and I don't even know what to say, man. I feel like I wasn't ready for this. I can't believe it. Mini is now in the losers. Unreal.
I mean, I heard that the 9-hatch-9 pool is a good counter against Gateway Expand. But that was kind of crazy, and Mini sent his Zealot in with his probe. He lost them both. He got a drone with it, and he forced lings, but those lings then went across the map and killed him. So, I mean, that's, in my opinion, what we just saw there was 815 understanding the freshest of the meta a little bit better than Mini there, and you can see how frustrated Mini is with himself.
It's a way that you can die outright. Certain matchups have this, and I was wondering, actually, when I saw the first Zealot commit and attack in, because I almost feel like you shouldn't even attack if you see them pull that fast.
Yeah.
Just stay back, have an extra Zealot, and try to, hold off the aggression, because they're going to be down on drones, right? That's what they sacrificed. 3 extra drones were given up to get the lings out earlier. So you give up a couple probes, plug up your entrance earlier, get a cannon, and you're okay. But, hey, man, this is a game that's constantly evolving with a lot of ideas new coming in that are changing things all the time.
Yeah, very cool. Good for 8-15. Goes to that winner's match, and this suddenly becomes a lot more realistic for him getting a round of 8, which would be insanity.
Unreal.
But up
It's
next,
crazy.
we are going to have Soma against JYJ. Don't go anywhere.
아이시스 8.0을 연다는 건 조금 이른 아침을 연다는 것. 나를 움직이는 핑크 에너지. 아이시스 8.0.
디자인을 하면서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 부분은 울트라 기어의 차별화된 브랜드 메시지를 잘 나타내는 것입니다. 신과 영웅들의 최강의 무기들을 검토하였습니다. 그중 니케의 승리의 날개를 모티브로 지금의 울트라 기어의 로고가 탄생하게 되었습니다. 울트라 기어의 이니셜인 U와 G를 비상하는 날개의 형상으로 레드 색상을 사용하여 강력한 에너지와 힘을 나타내었습니다. 울트라 기어는 최상의 퍼포먼스로 진정한 게임의 즐거움, 승리의 기쁨을 여러분께 선사할 것입니다.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 타6.
숙취 요즘 누가 저렇게 깨니? 맨날 똑같은 거, 맛없는 거 깨. 이제 탄산으로 깨. 숙취 해소의 새로운 기준. 가스강. 환도 역시 가스강이 대세.
이번 주 등산 어때? 등산.
캠핑? 그래서 주말엔 낚시?
내가 낚인 거지. 그래도 나오니까 좋잖아.
일상에서 취미까지 나누고 싶은 게 많은 요즘 시대의 커피. 칸타타.
Gonna get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone. Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Hey. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible. Hey. I grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. All I know is get paper. All I do is shit major. Bought a condo on the top floor in the buildings.
Welcome back, everybody. ASL continues on, and I don't know about you guys, but I am still reeling from that game. 8-15 keeps winning the way that I think we see so many games when we play online where it's like, oh, he just attacked and got in there. The intel wasn't quite there. Mm-hmm. He's had a really interesting story so far. Now, he's not out of the group, but the fact that Minnie, who is so revered right now, was taken down in a very straightforward kind of one build counters the other. I don't know. It's a really interesting start to the round of 16.
Yeah, and another one of these games that is just like someone dies instantly to a rush, which we've had so many of this season. And it feels like there's a little bit of like reverberation going on, if that's the right word, where we were literally just talking about this on the commercial break, where it's like some of these things that you see pros do, you look at that, you're like, I don't think that is supposed to work because of such and such a rush, right? And we're seeing these rushes come out at the pro level now and just kill people. It's so strange, but strangely cathartic to watch.
Yeah, no, I think cathartic is the right word, where you see that, you go, well, that's definitely my experience of the ladder.
Yeah.
We're going to go into this next game now. I think this should be not only a better game, but a longer game. Soma versus JYJ. I'm especially interested in the early mid game. I want to see how Soma approaches this. Again, I think this is a real make or break for JYJ. I think Soma, having major success in the past and being a very feared modern Zerg, is expected to win this, but let's see what happens.
right, so we have JYJ there in the bottom left, and someone we just saw in the bottom right. And I'm excited. You know, JYJ is kind of this exciting player, and we, you know, as I speak for the Terran race, you know that, right, Tastosis, that I speak for the Terran race. But
he says we. Like,
yes. We're
like
all
I couldn't
excited.
possibly understand, yes.
We're all excited about JYJ. All right, and because it's like he might slow burn to the top, or he might just have this moment where everything clicks and he goes to the top. But one way or the other, this guy is destined to be a top 3 Terran. He's not, like, really there quite yet. He's like a top 5 Terran, but, like, not a championship quality yet. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a freshly hatched Terran. There's so much potential. Even though in Bird War everybody's been around for so long. I mean, the truth is that you watch somebody like him, and it does seem like there's so much that he could offer.
Yeah, he's doing a forward 8 racks here in the center, so very aggressive opener.
This is one of the funny things about Polypoid is it seems like a lot of people proxied early on, and then everybody stopped doing it, but it's hard to find proxies in the middle of the map on Polypoid because there's a lot of places you can make them.
Yeah, you have to actually do a whole loop around the center. You know, the fact that the very center is not buildable makes it a little bit more difficult in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, an 8 racks opener, with the racks being in the center, this has potential for some serious damage. And we'll see which type of 8 racks this is going to be. Sometimes you go into factory, and sometimes you just go into an expansion behind it.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. It is hatch first. The Terran is going to scout clockwise now with the SCV. Well, hold on a second. I guess the second SCV is going to scout the bottom right. So, and here we are. It is going to be a factory next.
Yeah, okay, so this is, it's like a very, very good opener, something every Terran should have in their repertoire. He's saving the Marine, he's waiting for that second Marine, just this SCV going down, it looks like a normal scout SCV, and as this comes up and sees that gas timing, you know that there is a Rax out there somewhere. So let's see how Soma can deal with this. It's going to have to pull some drones down, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The bunker rushes started out as one of the strongest rushes in the game, and they're still good, but they're nowhere near as good as they were, you know, in the first couple of years of the game being out when people really figured out how to moving shot with drones. But, you know, you don't want to have to fight with drones, so this is annoying. You know, there's obviously more SCVs mining right now than there are drones. The issue really is that if these drones can get any kind of surface area around the Marines will die pretty fast. Marines are shockingly brittle.
Yeah, but look at this beautiful micro truly on both sides here. JYJ not doing a full commitment because this is a single 8 racks. You don't actually expect to have like too much damage from this. At home, he has that factory follow-up. Lings that are popping out, taking a bunch of damage. He's putting a ton of damage on this creep colony as well. Dude, this is actually fantastically executed from JYJ.
Oh, and he gets a cancel there on that. And Kenny almost gets a shot off to kill the drone. Now the bunker's going to finish, and this is actually a pretty insanely powerful position for the bunker because you cannot really get the Lings in the proper surface area, and so we've seen 2 cancels already. Dude, this is insane.
Yeah.
He's had to restart that sunken colony. Now, of course, the Marines can dive into the bunker if need be. Oh my God, a third cancel.
Dude,
that's 3, right?
That's like 3, 4, I think, actually. But
okay, yeah, I feel like I've seen it cancel so many times. Now I'm second guessing even myself.
Dude,
oh my God,
he's dead, man. This is not, like, against a player of JYJ's caliber, I don't think that you're really going to come back from this. Like, look at this.
This is the weirdest ASL. And remember, you lose 100 HP on a sunken colony when it finishes, so that's going to finish, and it's at 60 HP. I still think the sunken colony can't be killed, but...
Well, yeah, okay. The sunken actually pops the bunker, which is so important here, and is just barely alive, so the vulture can't kill him. If that sunken had died, that's it. The game is definitely going to end at that point, but JYJ definitely way ahead right now. There's a bunch of Lings out. Oh, he held the ramp, which is so important. Look at that. He can't even get the vision. Those are really well-placed Lings. 2 vultures wasted.
Wow.
Like, he needs that to happen. He needs more than that to happen, I think, as well.
That was quite the fight. I will say I am stunned at how JYJ was able to drag that on, and the discipline of Soma as well, to know that he has to cancel. If he doesn't cancel, the Sunken Colony will never finish and the game will indeed end. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of discipline on both sides.
Yeah, now Wraith going across is going to give him like perfect scouting intel, which is so important here. He sees that Hydras, he sees just the den, no layer or anything like that. He can see the drone counts. This is extremely valuable as far as the scout goes.
Yeah, this is pretty huge. If you've watched a lot of StarCraft and you're scratching your head as to why would you make a Hydra den right now and there's no layer, it's only because of this weird rush. You know, Terran has really sacrificed a lot to get this attack out. It's low on SCVs, has a lot of tech, but Hydras are actually great at fighting Terran units too. If the Terran units are not in great numbers and it's not stimmed Medic Marine, Hydras can just kill you. So this is a real threat here. This isn't just because there was a Wraith on the map.
Yeah, he's on the top of a ramp, so this is not going to get busted. The thing is, if you're just careful against the Hydras, you're going to be all right. Right? Like, Hydras, they take a lot of hits to kill bio units. They take a lot of hits to kill SCVs. So, I mean, just making this bunker up here, it seems like JYJ is completely safe, and sending this drop across the map has real potential to ruin the drone count once again.
Yeah, this is tricky now, right? I mean, the dropship's going to come through. I don't think he can do that much damage, but I guess any drones you kill at all are going to be pretty worthwhile, right? And these vultures don't have a lot of equity in a long game.
And hey,
oh wow, the body blocking is insane.
Yeah, that was so well done. I mean, Soma is playing as well as you ever could in this situation. Like, so many things have gone wrong for him, but he is really showing his class here.
And this has been an extremely scrappy game. What's funny about what JYJ is doing, and this is not, I don't want to say, I mean, it's actually quite good, but it might sound like it's bad with my next statement, and I don't mean it that way, but this actually parlays into one of the oldest looking builds that Terran ever had against Zerg, which was they would sit on one base and make barracks and make a tank and make a vessel and push out. And it's just kind of a funny thing to see, because it used to be obsolete for Terran to play one base like that because they wouldn't do this rush beforehand, but now you can see them doing this rush. And the setup's pretty scary, right? There's speed Hydras out here, but eventually there's going to be enough to try to fight that, and the tech that Zerg wants isn't developed yet.
Yeah, Zerg is so hiccuped that you actually can sit on the one base, and you're going to put on a ton of pressure as you move out, but it looks like Soma is going into mutas, and that can be difficult to play against here. Like, I mean, he's on one base, so he should be able to get his vessels out. He doesn't have that many areas he needs to put turrets down in, but I like the choice here from Soma. This is somewhere where I think that we're seeing Soma make better decisions than, for instance, if you remember Action versus Leda, where Action is like sitting there trying to make Hydras work against Bio. It's just, it wasn't going to work, right? But with Soma switching it up a little bit, I mean, if he gets some mutas out here, I think that he can kind of put on a little bit of counter pressure. Maybe he can snipe a vessel. That's the type of move he needs.
Yeah, that would be huge. Any key units that are picked off here, it's going to be a pretty big deal. Even getting that Wraith, it's a nice job. The dropship is still going to be on the map. We could see he used that actually to just scout. He's trying to get some confirmation of what's going on here. And keeping the Hydras busy is a good idea as well. Finally, I think this is going to be picked off. Breaks off one Scourge so he doesn't end up doing too much damage. But he did see there were basically 3 larvae banked at each hatchery, which is kind of a giveaway that Mutalisks are going to be inbound here.
Yeah, I wonder if he will, because he has gone Lurker, which, of course, I mean, you want to get Lurkers out at this point, but
yeah,
it does make me a little bit nervous, because, like, a medium amount of Lurkers can't really do anything against this army. Like, a medium amount of Lurkers, you're at 3 tanks, a vessel, and, like, 2 groups of Marines, you are going to massacre what he has here, right? So, not... I don't know about this. I think that Soma is he's in deep right now.
Yeah, but do you think that JYJ has been misled here? Could he be surprised with any kind of lurker play? Oh, there's going to be maybe a counterattack set up over here.
Looks like a counterattack, but he's got a bunker up the ramp. Like, it's
Ooh,
hard
okay,
to push that up.
He spots this.
JYJ started to turn around, but now turns around once again for that counterattack. And obviously 3 tanks are going to blow up those Sunkens very, very easily. He's got plenty of bio here. This army of Somas I don't think can engage.
Yeah, Terran's going to set up in a very comfortable spot. You can't counterattack here. Basically, the Zerg is going to have to fight into the siege tanks, which is really bad. We did see one of these sunken colonies damage one of the tanks. D-Matrix was thrown down there. Not ideal for JYJ, but basically a necessary play after that happened. We have lurker traps set up over here, but more importantly, I think these tanks can actually shell the hatchery. Let's take a look at these infantry. Oh, RZ Observer going to find this? Here we go. Okay. Push that away.
Yeah, and you know what? He is going to move the lurker forward and pick off some of that bio now. But right now he's just massing units. Like, he's got to do a flank on this, but will that flank end up working? I don't think so. All right, Stims takes out some of these lurkers. Some good spines, though. Hold on. Is he going to be able to do it? Another D-Matrix goes down. The flanking Terran army coming in as well.
Oh, man, these lurkers are still going to be able to burrow. And I don't know what's behind this. I think there's not quite enough infantry. I could be wrong, though. I guess if you have just barely enough, you might be able to hold on. But again, this is becoming such a scrappy game. It's only Lings being made. Lings may be the way to actually play this. You definitely want to have your Marines kind of bunched together with the medics here to deny surface area.
And look at that. Soma busts the tanks. He saved his hatchery. He has a hatchery in the top right. And, I mean, he's got a good amount of Lings on the map. You really got to mass up again as JYJ before your next move out, because little amounts of Marines won't be able to deal with these +1 carapace Zerglings.
Yeah, and the Lings are now going to come around, and he might actually, with those Zerglings and now Mutalisks coming into play, be able to fight this tiny army. And, you know, as scary as this has been for Soma, keep in mind JYJ does not have another base.
Mm-hmm.
Soma actually has 3 bases. We haven't really talked about it that much, but there is a hatchery at the top right, and there will be drones mining there when the time is safe. But really, Soma is all about stretching this game out, whereas JYJ is hungry to end this.
Well, JYJ is getting a Radiate now, right? So he scanned, he saw the mutas, realizes that he needs that. I mean, against just lurkers in that situation, I think D-Matrix is enough, but uses up his gas to get a Radiate, which is going to make the mutas pretty hard to use. Like, 2 Irradiates is going to shred them pretty badly, and he's making a really good standing army here. So let's see if Soma can actually macro up enough. He does have 4 hatches right now. He does have +1 carapace, which is super, super important as well. So maybe he has enough to beat the army, because if he kills the army one more time, I think he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, that it's funny. 2 more shells on that hatchery during the push, and from the tank, and that hatchery would have been gone, and we would have been in a very different game. But I think we're building up to the climax right now of this game. This push is coming out. There are not a lot of lurkers. Mutaling is good, but the larger the number of Terran units there are, the weaker Mutaling becomes.
Yeah, that's for sure. You hit a critical mass, and they aren't just going to trade all that well at that point. Now, he gets a vessel! Are you kidding me, JYJ? Oh, losing that vessel is brutal. Now, getting his tanks up into position here. And can he reach the hatch? It doesn't seem that way. Like, maybe deny some gas. Here comes the Mutaling. This is it. He does have some fire bats in here, which will help. But actually, the fire bats get targeted down super quickly there. The Lings get all over these Marines. A great burrow here. The spines hitting onto the Marines. Is this enough for Soma?
I think there might be too many infantry units underneath. No, wait a minute. Oh, my God. It's going to take out the first wave, but a second wave is inbound here.
Well, more lurkers come up, and we might just have a solid hold here from Soma. JYJ has been on the brink of killing Soma for like 10 minutes at this point. He has been right next door to killing Soma, and Soma's still alive. He's still in here. He's still fighting. Those supplies are getting closer and closer.
And the most important feature of this game is that JYJ does not have a second base. And so the longer the game goes on, the more of an upswing Soma gets economically, and therefore the more of an army he gets.
Yeah, 3 base against 1 is it's 3 times as many bases. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. In fact, almost completely mined out now. JYJ is entering the I am completely all-in territory.
Yeah, he will probably have to actually float his main command center to the expansion because he can't afford to probably make another CC. I mean, that's how dire things are. And again, if JYJ can just get that little extra iota of damage off in the fight and keep enough girth with his army here, I think he could still win this. But we got to see it happen now.
Okay, another vessel does end up falling here, and he's starting to eliminate this army pretty well. There are 6, 7 lurkers left here, only 1 siege tank. You know what? Like, Soma is doing a fantastic job still, but with siege tanks remaining, it's hard to actually get an engagement here.
There is a lot of lurkers, though. This can really sandbag the push because the tank will have to hit every single lurker. Oh, a dive in here, and a good pull away here from JYJ. Stays out of the range, snipes a lurker on the way out, and a second tank comes into play.
Yeah, one thing to mention is there's +1 carapace, but JYJ never actually got +1 attack in this game, which is making this a lot harder to deal with. Those lurkers just not popping as quickly as normal. Now he gets a couple more lurkers here, but loses both of his tanks.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit scary as far as lurker count goes, though, here. You know, when you have about 2 or 3 lurkers, sometimes they just don't burrow in the right spot and they get surrounded. When you get to 5 or 7 lurkers, it's quite different. And now irradiates are coming down here. A very thin line of defense over here. It may end where it all started here, back at this natural hatchery as the sunken colony is under fire. And I don't see any lurkers here to try to protect it.
And one eventually pops out, but the hatchery has gone down, so we're down to just those 2 bases. Probably the command center is going to have to float down for JYJ very soon here. Lurkers come up and burrow. Great pullback by JYJ. Kills them off with minimal losses. And he is getting pretty close to ending this game, I think.
This has been such an exciting, action-packed TVZ. We're almost to 18 minutes here, and Terran has not yet landed a command center in his natural. And I think if Terran can just basically push up into the main, you will destroy the infrastructure, and the third base will become a moot point as far as winning, plays for the Zerg. Because you'd have to remake every single tech structure from there on out. But you can buy time by making these lurkers.
Yeah, it's actually really hard to go up a Zerg ramp with a bio-tank army. He comes up and does the burrow, relies there on the high ground advantage. And a lot of shots are being missed, but it's not enough. Another snipe on a vessel, which, again, is huge. I mean, killing the vessels is a really strong play because he's only got 1 command center. He's eventually going to have to lift it. So, like, right now, no scans. If you don't have a vessel, you can't move.
Oh, that's a good point, Tastosis. That hadn't even occurred to me. Yeah, if you lose the vessel, you are suddenly completely blind to the threat of lurkers.
If the vessel dies in the game, you die in real life.
You die in real life.
He does have another vessel coming over right now, but his gas is nowhere. He's got 49 minerals. He's not mining. I am looking at this game. I'm not entirely sure who wins.
This is still a really tough one to call.
He actually just scourged the science facility. I think this strategy might be becoming real, where he's like, I just need him not to see my lurkers anymore.
The CC finally lands. Terran's still itching to try to go up the ramp, but, in that downtime, there's just really nothing that could have been made back here, so this doesn't seem to be safe at all back at home. He might just have to YOLO push up into the main.
Oh, Tastosis, but these lurkers doing some serious work at this natural. No more mining for JYJ once again. Trying to hold on top of his ramp. A bunch of his lurkers going down. Irradiates being cast. He doesn't have a lot left, but neither does JYJ.
So there is effectively no income right now for Terran. And in fact, the lurkers are going to come in here and basically shut down the main base. There's not going to be anything else made. Obviously, the base won't be destroyed in a base trade because Terran can lift off. So Zerg still has to wipe out this army that is pushing up here into the main. These few lurkers and few lings, the only line of defense.
Oh my god, another vessel gets picked off. The other one only has one Scourge hit left on it. Another hatchery goes down. The lurkers being pulled back. 53 supply against 23. Nothing really left for JYJ, but his army has a lot more efficiency to it.
Yeah, the vessel, still being in the game means he could basically safely take down the remainder of these buildings here. Drones are being pulled. I wonder if he can actually get any more pot shots. Oh my god, dives on the tank. I wasn't even expecting that.
Oh my god.
And then locks this other tank from getting up into the high ground.
This is crazy. He just used a drone drill to kill 2 siege tanks. Only 1 remains. Okay, burrows the lurkers, gets a double shot off. There he is, 4 behind as well. The siege tank, of course, outranges. So still there's potential for JYJ to win this game despite having almost nothing left in his main.
This is so insane, man. The remainder of the tech is going to get destroyed. I almost wonder if he should have gone for that Hydralisk den a little bit earlier. Really, lurkers are the only threat at this point in time. If you have enough Marines, you can basically micro. The problem is that I think in the time that Soma used to drag the game out, he's got enough.
I think you're probably right. He's got a lot of lurkers here, but the micro of JYJ remains. He's trying to hold it off. He runs back to the corner, but that is it. All the units get blown up. JYJ has to GG, and Soma wins the game of his life. He has just, I have goosebumps everywhere. Soma just showed us his level, and it is unbelievably high. He is
My God.
That is
Dude, that
unreal that he won that game.
That was crazy. I mean, that was action. How long was that? Was that 20 minutes or something like that? That was a action-packed game from A to Z, and it wasn't until the last couple seconds you really knew who was going to take it. That is something
You know that
else.
saying, like grabbing victory from the jaws of defeat? He went down into defeat's stomach, and then he went through its intestines to get victory, okay? He had to go all the way. He had those horse surgeon gloves on. Like, that is the only way he was able to win that. That was the most unbelievable comeback of the tournament, maybe ever in ASL. That I am unbelievably
That's one of the all-time
amazed.
greats. That's one of the all-time greats, dude. That game was just wild.
Wow.
And, I mean, both players in such dire situations. I mean, really, it was a nail-biter of a match. Definitely one, I think, we could all agree, was one of the best matches we've ever seen. And that means we're going to have JYJ face off against Mini. But coming up next, we have Soma versus 815, a ZVZ for the winners match in Group A. Guys, we will be right back.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 타6.
울트라 기어로 선명하게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터.
아이시스 8.0을 연다는 건 조금 이른 아침을 연다는 것. 나를 움직이는 핑크 에너지. 아이시스 8.0.
근데 이거 왜 다 맞추는 사람이 없어요? 유닛이요? 맵은 어려울 만한데.
이거는 오버로드요. 네네. 아니요, 안 봤습니다.
왜 이렇게 오버로드처럼 생겼지? 오버로드 말고는 없는데. 오버로드 할게요.
뭐야?
그 뭐야? 럴커. 이거 확신입니다. 이거 1000%예요. 잠깐만요? 드라군. 잠깐만요. 하이템플러인가? 하이템플러 하겠습니다. 네. 아 이거 속이네. 이거 어떻게 알아 이거. 이게 뭐라고 이렇게 긴장되지? 아이 스카웃이야 스카웃. 아이 한 번만 말하겠습니다. 오 맞네. 다행이다. 이거는 하이템플러네요. 네 이건 맞아요. 제가 때리면 안 되네 이제. 제가 맞았잖아요.
유니시에요? 골리앗? 이거 어떻게 맞춰요 이거를? 근데 이거 왜 다 맞춰서 그랬어요?
예? 아니 이거 뭐 어떻게 알아요? 떠나기밖에 없는데? 투원
투원 할게요. 네.
와, 나 그래도 이거 뼈다귀 보고는 몰랐어. 이거는 진짜 제가 수능공 모래 수능보다 어려운데요? 폴리포이드요. 나도 못 있어요. 이거는 좀 쉬운데요? 제 3세계.
일단 되게 신선해서 재밌었고요. 제가 제일 잘 맞출 것 같습니다.
잘한다고 생각했던 신속한 유닛들이 다르게 보니까 낯서네요.
제가 좀 빨리 떨어지다 보니 맵들이 좀 기억이 잘 안 나는 것 같아요.
일단은 제가 11년 만에 예선을 뚫었고 약간 어려운 조에서 힘들게 올라왔는데 힘들게 올라온 만큼 진짜 열심히 해가지고 좋은 모습 보여주겠습니다.
4강 가면은 여자친구 언급을 하기로 했는데 그 약속을 지킬 수 있도록 최선을 다하겠습니다. 강한 사람들한테 도발해서 화끈하게 말하겠습니다.
16강에서는 좋은 모습으로 손쉽게 8강에 진출할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back, everyone. We have already wrapped up the first two matches in the round of 16. Dude, I'm just still buzzing.
Yeah.
I'm still humming from that TVZ we saw. My God, one of my favorite games for sure.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. Like, I just can't even believe that we saw something like that. What a pleasant surprise, especially after the Zergling rush had just won. I'm like, damn,
yeah.
I wanted to see what Mini had for us, but that was like Soma's level that he showed there. I think so few players would ever be able to pull that off against JYJ. It's just so
He's
impressive.
Scary. And look, I mean, here's what I'm asking myself is we've got Soma who just seems to be able to like bend the StarCraft universe, make the code work for him, eke out as much damage, get ahead in as many ways possible as the game is able to give you. And he's going up against 815, who seems to be basically countering the meta at the pro level. And I don't want to take anything away from 815. I know those two games we saw were two very different games, but 815 is playing the most modern, ladder meta counter play. Can he do that ZVZ versus Soma? I don't know. Sometimes Zerg vs. Zerg feels very limited. Sometimes it feels like there are infinite possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure what we're going to end up seeing here, but it is going to be a best of 3 now, and we'll see if 815 can pull it through against someone that looks unbeatable. All right, so we have Soma in the top right of Revolver. And in the bottom left, we have 815. Dude, this is kind of exciting. A little best of 3, Zerg vs. Zerg. Let's see what 815 has in store for us.
Yeah, I welcome this. I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. You know, I do think it's safe to say that Soma is probably just better mechanically than 815 when it comes to Lings and Mutas.
Yeah, his micro is really second to none, so you would think that he has the advantage here.
Yeah, you would think so, but let's see. Again, 815 seems to basically be doing a lot of sidestepping, strategic sidestepping, if that makes sense. You know, he's like doing a lot of like, is this your card? And you're like, how did you do that? He's like, was the word you were thinking apartment? And I'm like, how did you read my mind? Because he is countering, you know, the opposing player. And let's see, maybe there's something like that he can do here in ZVZ. A quick announcement here, guys. We meant to mention this as the show started, but we were talking about the time we had off for Korean Thanksgiving. But we are offering now Patreon supporters access to a little pre-show where you get to hear us banter and hear our back and forth before we actually start the matches.
The Tastosis secret podcast.
The secret podcast. The support you guys have given us has been amazing, and it's allowed us to keep giving you guys our casting and keep Brood War history alive. And we're so happy we've been able to do it, but now we want to give something a little extra to Patreon supporters. So if you want to get access to that, and first of all, if you're already paid, you're going to have it. If you haven't paid yet, it's patreon.com/ASL English.
Yeah. And I think we'll probably do one of those before each episode. You know, it's basically just like we actually release our banter before because Taste and I, every time we see each other, we just talk and joke around and stuff. So
yeah, we're usually talking for a while.
Yeah, and the cameras go live, and it's like, basically that, but we're being annoyed by a StarCraft game at the same time.
I'm like, listen, you guys, what you thought was right. What we do is we sit in the dark silently until the game starts. So we thought we could record that and show you that truly we only talk to each other when the cameras are on.
All right, so what are we looking at here, Tasteless? Looks like we have the layer coming up. Ooh, a second hatchery here for Soma.
And, you know, it started out looking pretty similar, but it's already gotten a bit different. I mean, 815 has gone for, you know, more Lings and obviously less drones. It's always going to be a give or take there. Soma seems to have enough to defend, but is getting that second hatch. It seems to be developing to a more steady position where it looks like 815 is racing into getting a Spire while having a lot of Lings on the ground.
Yeah, and with the double hatch, like it seems like Soma, when that second hatch pops up, is going to have such a good amount of larva that he should be able to just kind of stay alive against the Ling flood that seems to be coming. See about that, I guess. The one Ling... Ooh! Soma slips one around and might be able to get a solid scout here. Let's see if he can get up past these Lings. Oh, good catch there by 815.
And so these Lings are inbound here.
Tasteless. He canceled the hatchery. He canceled the hatch
that makes
after...
sense.
Wow, what?
That's a very decisive play. I actually was almost confused when we went back there because I thought, did I make that up, the hatchery? So he's got pressure up here at the ramp. You know, these two eggs do make it a little bit difficult to really force your way through. So the angling's quite good here for Soma, but as the Lings slip through, it's going to be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and he made double sunken with his Spire. So I think that this was like a premeditated thing from Soma. He probably has some sort of rule where he's like, okay, in this situation, I let the hatchery finish because I need the Lings. And in this situation, I like cancel and just go defensive and go into mutas.
I wonder if there's merit in just diving onto the Spire with the Lings. I guess if you could kill the Spire in time, it would seem like you'd just win.
Well, yeah.
Wait, is that not a Spire? Am I crazy? Is that an Evo Chamber?
That's a Spire.
Oh, it is a Spire. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why he's making this other one. Maybe to cut off surface area. No, a third sunken. I don't know if he's doing this correctly. This is very
for a
weird.
Second, when I saw the creep colony, I thought, oh, I must not understand. That must be like a spore or something that he's making in an Evo chamber above that. But yeah, he is getting the Spire.
I've never seen anything quite like this, Tasteless. Like, okay, so he's got 5 drones on minerals, 3 on gas right now, and 3 sunks.
Huh.
And his opponent has 0 sunks, but the same tech. So he should have more drones actually mining. Like, did someone just read this incorrectly?
I don't understand how he could have. He has vision of well, he had vision of that. I guess no. You know what? I guess he could be tricked. If I look at the pathing, really, you wouldn't know for sure with the Overlords fleeing the situation. Seems like he really just thought it was going to be a Ling flood.
Yeah.
He might have also sensed, like we were talking about a minute ago, is that the Spire's on the outside. You could always just get run over by Lings if the Spire is sniped. Then you just lose the Mutalisk fight, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, and so I think Soma's in a funny spot. He basically can't really be harmed by harass anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, unless it's from other Mutalisks, but I feel like 815's in a very comfortable spot now.
I think so. Like, I guess the one positive thing here for Soma, like maybe Soma has figured something out where it's like, okay, if you have enough Sunkens, you can literally just not even think about or look at Zerglings, right? Because I don't think he'll make any more Zerglings, really. Like, I guess he could, because obviously his opponent doesn't have Sunkens, but like, counterattacks of Lings are normally a big part of Mutaling versus Mutaling, but now it should be just Mutas for Soma. But look at 815's count. Is 815 just going to win this group and go on in the round of 8 like it's nothing?
He's going to win ASL, man. That joke I made, remember when I did this in GSL about Deer? I was talking, I was like, imagine Deer wins this, and then he actually won. He was
faceless,
like the Royal Roader.
Faceless Korean Protoss is what you actually called him. But yeah, and he became one of our only Royal Roaders ever and a legend.
Is that happening here with 815?
Maybe.
I thought 815 was sort of like the the novelty guest appearance of pro gamers from the past, but I feel like right now Soma is going to bleed out if he's not able to deal with this. Now again, control is everything. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, he has less mutas though, so it's like not even like Soma can be the fanciest guy in the whole world. He can dribble the ball between these muta legs as many times as he wants. He just has less mutas, and he's just dying because of it. Like, I think that's it, Tasteless. I think 815 has won Group A very decisively with a 2-0. His opponent's completely misreading situation.
I can't believe this.
Oh my god. Look at these Scourge chasing these sad
I feel like
mutalisks.
I'm in a weird fever dream, and I'm going to wake up and realize it's time to cast the round of 16 Group A. And I'm going to be telling you in the secret podcast about how you wouldn't believe what I dreamt. But here we are.
Look, he's trying to get a Spore. It's not going to happen. Not even close. GG. Well, that's it. That's it.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. I can't believe it either.
I can't believe it.
Well,
I don't even know
it is
what
a
to
best
say.
of 3. I got ahead of myself. I'm used to the best of 1 format from before, but 815 wins game 1. Okay. Let me retract that. Okay, start over. Yeah, so it's best of 3. He's won game 1.
Did you think it was just over? I mean, the fact that he won that now, though, I'm like,
Yeah, it's ZBZ. Who knows? You could go, like, 9 pool twice now with speed, right? And just be like, I don't know, maybe.
It was that third Sunken Colony that was just, I think, for a lot of people watching, raising eyebrows,
Yeah. Yeah, well, the hatch cancel into double sunk. Like, I mean, there were a lot of Lings, but yeah, 815 just like, I think that had to be surprising to him too. It's not like he did something special. He's like, and this is how I force someone into making 3 sunken colonies, because I've never even seen that. And I've watched a lot of CDCs.
That was very interesting. It seems like he might have suspected that there was just going to be this wave of Lings coming in. And instead, basically, he just broken the ramp and that was it. He didn't have bigger plans than that. We've seen this a bit trendy, though, just kind of, if they're low on Lings, trading your Lings off so that nobody has a ground game. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they go Sunken Colony. Because they're relying on the Sunken Colony and the Lings to keep them alive. But if you get rid of their Lings, they don't have any ground counterattacks at all. I don't know, some food for thought there, guys. This is game 2. Unbelievably, 815 ahead with a 1-0 lead. Just 1 victory away from escaping.
All right. Ascension is our map, a 3-player map. We have Soma in that right-hand spawn, and up at 12 o'clock, we have 815. 815 sending his Overlord in the correct direction, Soma in the incorrect direction.
Yeah. This is already another sign from the StarLeague gods that 815 is the chosen one.
He's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one.
Well, he's such a Chad tasteless. He doesn't even have an ID. He just named himself 3 numbers.
I feel like I just don't know what to say. I mean, you know, you don't necessarily just win if you scout him first in ZVZ. It's a very complicated matchup, but just game after game after game, we're watching 815 just judo flip the opponent.
Yeah, he's surprising everyone, and sometimes he's getting surprised by seeing 3 Sunkens when he's not really, you know, when he has his Spire finish. But well, yeah, let's see. Soma has to back this up, and honestly, the way he fought against JYJ, I wouldn't be surprised if he just buckles down here and wins 2-0.
Yeah, I think, I mean, ZVZ has always been a funny matchup because, you know, it looks like there's not much going on, but, you know, if one guy has 7 drones mining minerals, the other has 6, it's a big difference. And there's a lot of little ways that you want to take a look at stuff, but really, it's a matchup that is so much about perfection. You know, you're really not allowed to screw up anywhere because it's very tough to push your way back into the lead.
Yeah. I mean, that even that 1 drone difference, like you mentioned, that means the whole entire world. It's just, if you can't... Hey, look at percentage-wise, right? If it's 7 drones mining minerals versus 6, or 5 versus 6 like we saw before, you know, that's what, 20% increase in miners. That 20% is gigantic, you know? And
of course,
so,
yeah.
Like, every little thing does matter. There's not as much macro in it, but, like, these tiny differences make gigantic waves.
So Soma is sending his lings out right away. I do believe, assuming that he banks enough larva, and I think he will, this should be a bit advantageous here for 815 because his pool finishes later, his gas finishes later. So 815 should have a few extra drones. But he has to hold the ling rush off first. That's what's most important.
Yeah, and normally what we see here is we'll see more lings out of 815 in this type of situation because he does have more larvae, and he'll probably have to go into spores, right? Obviously, first he has to hold this. We see some nice drone drilling here. Hasn't lost any drones, which is super important. Lings come out. Ooh, he takes a few extra free hits there. He's got to be careful about this still, but he does have the double hatchery, so some lings popping out at the natural, and I think he's going to hold all right.
Yeah, he seems to be in okay shape. We should point out that sometimes we see players try to pressure the hatchery, and that didn't happen this time around. Someone really tried to push inside the main and get some immediate damage, and 815 has done a pretty good job holding it so far.
Yeah, he's drone drilling really, really well. He's getting a good, solid ling count. You see still some micro going on here from Soma in the main base, and he actually runs by these slower lings. So, let's see if he actually gets some big damage here. The drone's drilling on top of a lot of them. The lings coming in as well. A little bit difficult to do your targeting correctly. There are a lot of drones falling right now. All right, 7 left over.
And I'm not sure how many drones are back at home here. Soma is continuing to press in, but he's actually traded out a lot of lings, and now I worry about a counterattack here. It looks like he has 6 mining minerals. Soma does. What is that? That's 2, 4... I think it was 10 drones. Did I count that correctly? Or 8?
Yeah, something like that. Like 815 has a slight drone advantage right now, and he does have more larvae, so... I mean, Soma right now has his Spire coming up, so we're gonna... Okay, 815 is actually droning at the moment instead of making lings, because I thought he might flood lings, but I guess if Soma made 3 Sunkens before, you got to be careful about over-making circlings here, right? So he's going to drone up, which means we're going to have to see an evolution chamber, and he's going to have to go for the longer game here.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting spot Soma's put 815 in. Basically... When you see 815 and the position that he's in, he's going to try to drag the game out and try to basically outlast the mutas. It's a pretty simple situation in that, you know, he doesn't have any mutas. He just has to basically hold on and stabilize with his economy. Whoa, big ling attack in over here hitting these drones. And again, every drone kill in a ZVZ is huge.
Yeah, he is getting some. Ooh, that drone drills right back through, and he does end up saving it. I think we do need to see more spores, though. This, particularly this base at 12 o'clock, you're going to need more spores in general to cover. Yeah, look at that. Look at like how far apart the gas is from the back of the minerals. So that's a little bit problematic for the strategy he chose as well.
Yeah, and you can get 4 spores, but it does hurt quite a bit. Now, obviously, Soma isn't just straight out ahead in every sense. He only has 1 hatchery, and he only has 1 base. And so there are some problems here for Soma as well. And so each player is going to try to play their position to the best of their ability. If a 4th spore colony is set up over at the 2nd base, and we're seeing it being made right now, he is going to basically have no area that the Mutalisks can realistically hit. I don't think the Mutalisks can hit that extractor from the side, right?
No, they should not be able to. Not without taking some spore damage, that's for sure. So it's a good spread of spores right now for 815, but that, you know, even though he has that extra mineral and gas location, that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to just out macro. Like, when is he actually going to get his gas? Because Soma has the Mutalisk lead right now. And he's started the hatchery at his natural, so he's eventually going to get more gas here as well.
And the Spire has started up. And so, oh my God, these Lings coming in here, great idea. You know, any drones you can just clip off, it's worthwhile. Again, you know, 815 doesn't have sunks. And, you know, these spores, they do defend, but they are in kind of distant positions, aren't they?
Well, they're not covering each other right now at all, so you actually have to start adding more spores at this point, because as your Mutalisk count goes up, eventually they'll start soloing the spores. And if they kill one of your spores, that location will fall.
And, you know, whenever you see drones move through the middle here, it's this kind of unsafe, unguarded area, and we see Soma taking full advantage of that.
Another spore has been added in that main base. More mutas coming up right now for Soma. Some Lings have been added on for 815. He needs to keep them defensive for now, because Lings do continue to try to run in here for Soma. Flying up, seeing if he can find a way into that natural. Can't quite get there.
The Spire is going to be finishing, so now is the opportunity for 815 to catch up. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm a little bit worried here for Soma. He doesn't really have the droning he needs behind this. He is still very, very limited on his ability to produce. There is a 3rd hatchery being made that's very important. But for now, I mean, there's still a lot of drones mining back over here for 815.
Yeah, 815 definitely has that much bigger economy. His Spire is done, so he'll start to buy mutas. But there's more mutas for Soma, and he's going to be mining his gas shortly here. So it's not all that straightforward that 815 will have more mutas overall. But don't forget he has the spores, which means he's more free to roam than Soma is.
Nice snipe there. That's a pretty big deal. You know, again, even a little Scourge goes a long way in this matchup. You know, with Lings coming out now, I guess the question is, you know, how much is actually back here to try to help defend? Soma's lost control of basically keeping the Zerg, the 815 Zerg, threatened. And so now, even if the mutas move out, there's a chance the Lings will just run right in, whether that be the natural or the main.
Yeah, and that's kind of the scary thing here for Soma, right? He's making a sunken at his natural, but the mutas could fly in at any time. Like, he doesn't have as much map vision as he used to have. Now, he's picking off some of these Lings. These are good kills. Soma, of course, mining a lot of gas now as well.
I actually didn't check Artosis. Did you see, does anybody have attack upgrades or armor upgrades?
No, not yet. We don't know if Soma started any. Obviously, his would finish first, but looks like they're having a full-on battle here. 815 might be taking the worst of this.
Yeah, especially with those few additional Scourge there. And as the dust settles, you could see that quite a number of Soma's Mutalisks basically survive that, even if they are just one Scourge hit away from death. And 815, I think, really miscalculated his position, and that was the moment where he tried to commit, and I think Soma being the smart player that he is, realized, yes, this is the moment I know I can actually take this fight. Now, that could change with a few Scourge added in. Let's not forget, a lot of these mutas are one Scourge shot away. So if he can come back in here and basically force Soma to moving shot while 815 just continues to target shot, maybe he can make something happen. But I think now Soma is in a very, very comfortable position. And we've seen the supply advantage flip into Soma's favor.
Yeah, would definitely agree with that. Now, look at this. 815 is trying to sneak a third base, and it gets instantly found. He must have seen that drone go out, because that was like the quickest find I've ever seen. So 815, now that Soma knows how desperate 815 is, that should give him a lot of confidence. You can see him sweeping through the map right now with his Scourge, with his mutas, and just seeing if anything is out there, whether it's the Mutalisks or other drones trying to expand.
And I love these Scourge here at the top of the map, basically combing, because if there was going to be an angle where he would be hit from, it would be there. So he's just, again, preempting that location as well. And, you know, that dogfight we saw with the Mutalisks earlier on, that may be what ultimately has settled this game already. I think from here we're watching Soma now, you know, like a boot on 815's throat. I mean, this game should be almost over here.
Yeah, well, 815, you know, he's still got that good drone count. He still can make some moves with Zerglings and things like that as well. Counterattacks aren't as easy for Soma. I love that he's really piling up the Scourge here, though, right? Like, this is going to make it very difficult for 815 to micro out of it. But, like, this is a composition that can fight in the middle of the map. He can't, can he attack with this with that many spores? I don't think so, right? Like, with this style?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that what Soma's basically done is if there is going to be a fight in the air, the Scourge number is going to be so overwhelming that 815 will have to run back home, and I think Soma doesn't really care. He doesn't want to dive into the base so much as he wants to just chase him off and allow the growth engine to continue to bolster here for Soma.
Yeah, now I believe technically there's more mutas here for 815. I think he's actually up about 4 mutas, but down about 12 Scourge. So
right.
It's a big difference. Like, probably a higher gas value overall here in Soma's army, but we'll see. Obviously, he's going to be able to micro his one group of mutas exceedingly well. See if those Scourge can get the value he's looking for.
Well, the mutas are going to try to chase him back here. Again, when the Scourge number gets that high, it becomes a lot harder to try to do the targeting game. Now, armor is done here for 815.
Yeah, that's a big deal, I think, as well. Like, that's really going to help him in the muta versus muta, but Scourge don't care about that as much.
No, it doesn't really make much of a difference here. It could on very small levels or with very specific types of numbers. But, you know, if it does come to muta versus muta, keep in mind, guys, mutas fire glaives that bounce, and so the armor reduces each of the glaives' damage, which is why armor is such a stronger upgrade and also costs more than attack for mutas.
Oh my god, the mutas get on top immediately of Soma's mutas. Now the Scourge coming up. Are the Scourge going to be enough to swing this? It looks like the mutas of 815 start to win, but more mutas come out of the woodwork here for Soma. In the meantime, some Lings have counterattack, killed a drone or two here at the third base, but are going to have to run away.
And that was going to be make or break for 815. And the problem is that this third gas is making Soma so rich, and Mutalisks are continuing to come out. And, you know, the upgrades turned out to be, oh, look at that, armor upgrade over there for Soma as well. So even for 815, that's not an advantage right now. And so this is probably going to be tied up 1-1.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you at this point. This game looks to be over. 815 is trying to take his own third base in a normal location. That's not going to be doable. A lot of Lings coming across the map. He's just down in every single way at this point. It seems, you know, that those Scourge that came in really did their job there against him.
Yeah, and I think Soma, you know, he's going to win this game, no doubt. But I'll tell you what, he's having to work for it. 815 is really exhibiting a really keen understanding. And, you know, he's very, very much in control of the early game. All of these early games we've had with him in ASL, he's really been on top of his decision-making, what builds he's choosing to do. when he commits to attacking and when he does not. And this is definitely a ZVZ that Soma had to work for.
Yeah, the A15 definitely well practiced and well prepared here. But yeah, with that third gas, you can see the supply of Soma starting to shoot up. He's up 30 supply right now, which a lot of times ZVZ is finished before 30 supply. And now we have that advantage for Soma. So A15's coming across the map. I think he has to like do some dives and stuff. He has to start taking gigantic risks and getting those payoffs.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, now we have another attack coming out here. I love the lane counter attack. It's easy to forget there's no sunken colonies there, but here comes the final fight over here as the, you know, hurricane of Mutalisks duking it out, but the expansions are going to be destroyed and the Mutas are killed in the fight. GG, tied up 1-1. It's going to be this next ZVZ to decide who moves on to that final, well, not final. Who's going to move on in that first spot, I should say, to the round of 8. Excuse me.
The final round of 8 of the year for ASL. How about that?
Thank you. Thank you.
We can make it work.
This has been really good ZVZs.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying the ZVZs here today. A bit back and forth. Like, it did feel like each player was winning a couple times there, and eventually A15 just... He got the beginning of that Mutalisk fight so well, and then the Scourge came in, and, like, the cloning was amazing, and just everything fell apart for him. But we'll see what he can do. I mean, Soma is being pushed to the very edge.
I mean, Soma's really having to work today. This is what's funny about this group is we had 3 really good players, and I feel like this whole group has been a complete inverse of what we thought it would be, right? Like, A15's great, but we expect him to be eliminated first, and he looked like he was the closest to getting out initially. Mini's the first guy to go down to the losers match, and then here's Soma having to work his ass off to hang on against A15. And I think A15 makes a few adjustments in his play in that last game, and maybe he's already in the round of 8.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that. So, is he going to be able to pull that out again, though? Like, it feels like he's playing some of the games of his life, like he's making the right choices, he's getting the right situations, but can he have another one?
That's the big question. We're ready to go into our third map here. It's going to be on Largo to close this out. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of CVZ on this match, on this map, I should say, with these guys, but let's see what happens. Okay, let's just find out. Are you there, Tastosis?
Yeah, no, I'm there.
Okay, all right.
You said let's see what happens. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's
see what happens. You're like, I hate you, Tastosis. I hate it when you talk.
That's what I'm really thinking in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish he would just shut up. I want to solo cast.
I'm like, who knows, man? I think the better player's going to win, and you're just sitting there quietly like, everything you say is terrible.
Like, I'm so sorry, Tastosis. I've had you muted this whole time, but you're so predictable.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying anyways. All right, so Largo, Tasteless. We have A15 bottom right, top right, we have Soma. I mean, I think for ZVZ, it's going to be a pretty standard map.
I think so. I don't think these third bases are going to play any role at all on this map.
Third base
I
ZVZ
think,
is pretty rare, right? Like, I mean, we saw one technically that game, but it was kind of like the thing that said get out.
It's more of a closer play than it is a winning play. It does seem like oftentimes in ZVZ. This is a small ramp map, so there's certain openings that are a little bit tighter that you can do, as long as you can control that ramp.
And well, what do you think is going to be A15's play here? Is he going to go for one of the more Ling heavy, or?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Like it seems like when it comes to mutas, that's not going to be where he's able to beat Soma. Like, I think he has to get ahead before mutas come out.
Now they're both scouting each other here. We're going to have the Overlord kiss come here. Romantic moment. And so nobody's going to have an inherent edge, since they can both look at each other. It's one of the funny things that, kind of one of the funny phenomena that first came to be in StarCraft, was if you're both playing Zerg and you're near each other, you can just both have Overlords over each other, and you can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of intel. You can basically see everything that is going on at that point, and if you need to make those lings, if you need to make drones, whatever it may be.
Now, Soma's pool is slightly later than 815's, which generally is better for the late pool player, because you do get a few more drones, like we mentioned earlier on.
But Soma gonna be rushing a little bit quicker here.
Oh, you know what? I swapped the.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. I thought for some reason 815 was blue. Yeah, Soma's gonna have a little bit of a disadvantage, I think, here attacking in. But let's see. You know, last time Soma did avoid the hatchery and instead just attack into the main. Let's see what he does this time.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to follow that once again, but the Ling's already coming down for 815, so I think he should be able to hold this out. Too much problem. Kind of similar to last game. But, you know, last game we saw Soma, even when there was plenty of Lings out, kind of run around and harass the drones a little bit and be quite annoying with his initial Zerglings. He is still making them. They're still coming over. Drone coming down to help fight with 815, a couple more. Oh, gonna get a pick off on that drone. No, the drone doesn't die. And look at this, runs up into the main base with some of the Zerglings.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy here. He's coming in now. Again, the drones are pretty handy in fights because they can shoot over the Lings here. Soma, though, really committing down here and doing quite a bit of damage. You really can't afford to lose workers this early on. The hatchery taking damage as well.
Oh my god, and you can actually see Soma moving around his chair. I think he's very happy at this point. I think he's realized that he's basically taking it. GG, 815 taps out. A good effort, but Soma comes back after being down a game to take the series 2-1.
What a really fun ZVZ that was. And I'll tell you what, Soma gets out, but this is a group he really had to work for. Props to him for moving on to the round of 8. I guess we all have to ask ourselves, you know, how far will he get this season? This is a hyper-competitive season of ASL with some very explosive short games, and that last game was no exception.
Well, Soma is like always top 4, right? So I guess we got to assume he'll be able to make it there once again. The first player into that round of 8, definitely going to be deadly for whoever goes up against him.
And so in a moment here, we're going to get an interview with Soma, see how he's feeling. He is our first survivor in the round of 8, escaping Group A and leaving 3 players to remain and continue the fight on, so we can see who will get that last spot.
ASL 시즌 12 16강 A조 경기 함께하고 계십니다. 첫 번째 8강 진출자가 탄생했습니다. 박상현 선수 만나보시죠. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
와우, 이번 시즌 굉장히 얻은 것들이 많습니다. 일단 지난 시즌 16강에서 탈락했는데 이번에는 8강으로 올라가셨고요. 게다가 정영재 선수에게 복수까지 성공하면서 이렇게 8강에 올라오셨습니다. 지금 기분 어떠세요?
너무 기뻐요. 첫 경기 폴리포이드 할 때 패자전에서 현재 형이랑 이제 해야 되나 생각까지 했거든요. 앞마당 깨지고. 근데 그거 이겨내니까 뭔가 잘 풀렸던 것 같아요.
정영재 선수와의 첫 경기가 굉장히 명경기였습니다. 정말 끝까지 가까스로 버텨내면서 순간적인 판단을 하는 박상현 선수의 경기력 덕분에 승리를 거둘 수 있었는데 초반부터 정영재 선수의 견제가 굉장히 거셌거든요. 이 벌처를 무력화시키고 난 이후에 정영재 선수가 바이오닉 병력을 꾸준히 계속해서 앞마당으로 보냈어요. 이 3번의 공격을 정말 가까스로 막아냈는데 뚫릴 것 같은 순간에도 박상현 선수가 막아내는 모습이 있었거든요. 막아낼 수 있다는 생각을 좀 하셨나요?
영재 형이 앞마당이 엄청 그냥 안 먹더라고요. 그래서 사실 두 번째 공격까지 막아내고 이겼다고 생각했는데 갑자기 이제 앞마당이 밀리더라고요. 그래서 그때 이제 졌다. 이거 현정이랑 해야 되네. 망했네. 이런 생각했는데 근데 좀 확실히 뒷심이 딸린 게 느껴지더라고요. 그래서 끝까지 해보자 하고 앞마당 날아가도 포기 안 하고 했는데 좋은 결과 나온 것 같아요.
결국 박상현 선수가 한시를 돌리고 정영재 선수가 커맨드를 띄운 사이에 또 본진을 공격을 가면서 기회를 만들어냈습니다.
네.
정말 어렵게 기회를 잡았던 승자전 경기 배병훈 선수에게 첫 세트에 좀 일격을 맞았어요. 아무래도 배병훈 선수의 그런 좀 극단적인 승부사 기질을 좀 많이 의식하셨던 것 같아요.
아, 네. 병우 형이 또 한 방 있는 저거고 그래서 첫 번째 경기 때 사실 본진 9회신 줄 알았어요. 9투인 줄 알았어요. 완전 극단적인 올인인 줄 알고 이겼다 생각하고 있었거든요. 갑자기 뮤탈이 나오더라고요. 그래서 아 망했다 생각했는데
확신의 삼성큰이었군요.
네, 저는 약간 GG7하는 삼성큰이었는데
네.
그것 때문에 졌더라고요. 래플 보니까. 그래서 좀 부끄러웠어요.
그래도 역시 부드러운 발업으로 2세트를 내리 가져오면서 이렇게 8강에 진출하셨습니다. 8강에서의 박상현 선수의 경기력이 더 기대가 됩니다. 이제 다전제로 올라가시는데요. 더 자신이 있으실 것 같아요.
네, 다전제 자신 있고 다전제는 진짜 실력 싸움이잖아요. 그래서 뭐 좋은 것 같아요. 편하고.
강력한 우승 후보 박상현 선수 이번 시즌 12 어떤 각오로 임하실지 팬들에게 마지막으로 한 말씀 전해주시죠.
일단 그 연습 도와준 재호 형하고 지성이하고 진우 형하고 윤철이 형 너무 고맙고요. 이번 시즌은 약간 제가 준우승 할 때 그때 느꼈던 기분들을 많이 느끼고 있거든요. 전 시즌은 좀 뭔가 몸에 힘이 안 들어갔는데 이번 시즌은 좀 컨디션도 좋고 높이 올라갈 수 있을 것 같아요.
이번 시즌 기운이 굉장히 좋다고 말한 박상현 선수 더욱더 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 다시 한번 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
All right, guys. So there's our interview. We do want to mention the Patreon, of course, patreon.com/ASL English. Thank you so much for everyone who has supported us in the ASL and helps us to be here and do this.
And if you guys support us on Patreon, we're now giving you something extra. We have a secret podcast we're doing for anybody who's supporting us on there. You can hear our conversations, our banter before the show starts. A little something extra, a little something we're giving back to you guys for showing us all that love.
All right, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we get back, Minnie versus JYJ.
이렇게 좋은 날엔 홈캠핑이지. 홈캠핑엔 고기, 고기엔 칠성사이다. 맛있는 자리에 빠질 수 없는 청량함. 완벽하네. 칠성사이다.
울트라 기어로 부드럽게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터.
야채 착착, 당토 톡톡, 아보카도 슥슥, 그리고 제로. 이렇게 맛있다고? 맛은 배로, 칼로리는 제로. 칠성사이다 제로.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
아이시스 8.0을 챙긴다는 건 건강한 생각까지 챙긴다는 것. 나를 움직이는 핑크 에너지. 아이시스 8.0.
dream
Welcome back, everyone. ASL Group A continues on. And this is a weird losers match. I'm still like, I haven't truly accepted that Mini is here right now. Losing 8-15, that's still, I don't know, that hasn't almost sunk in yet until maybe when we came back from this break, because there's a chance Mini gets eliminated by JYJ. I do think the odds are in Mini's favor, but
yeah, okay.
You got to be careful. JYJ is very good. Even though JYJ lost to Soma, that was an incredible game. He's looking very on point today.
Yeah, well, yeah, JYJ is definitely not playing poorly, and we haven't really seen anything out of Mini. The one thing I would say, like, straight up, I think Mini is stronger than JYJ, but JYJ's style, I think, can do well against Mini, because JYJ is a guy that will stay on two bases for a really long time, which in the very modern era is actually doing very well. Like, you don't need super quick thirds right now. So I think we're going to see him pack a big punch on two bases, and if Mini gets over aggressive, he's going to get punished.
All right, guys, let's get this going. This is the fight to stay in Group A. The loser is the first player out of the round of 16 in the ASL.
So we have Mini there in that top center, and in the bottom right we have JYJ. The map, of course, Ascension. Now, this is probably going to be the harder map here for JYJ to take Mini down on. This map is a little bit Protoss favored in the matchup. It's like, Nexus First, obviously very, very strong here. Carriers, very, very strong here. And it's hard to figure out any attack that isn't maxed out as Terran, because you have to go up so many ramps, you know?
Yeah, it's a funny map. It does feel pretty safe as a Protoss, right? And let's see if Mini does, in fact, go for Nexus First. I feel like whenever we have these maps, there's the initial meta, and then that shift from that initial meta where people are trying to play around that, and we're certainly not in that second phase of understanding of the map. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we've seen silly things like that forward barracks, remember? Where he didn't even go. He just kills him because he didn't go Nexus First. It's like, oh, okay. So, you know, with these kind of weird moves, it's like, well, honestly, you don't have to Nexus first. It's really good here, which is annoying to have to deal with that. But, like, you can just play the map normally. You don't actually need to do that. You're fine just playing like a regular opening.
Well, if they try to counter Nexus first and you just played normally, you're in an even better spot.
Yeah.
And you can go gate gas on any map. Oh, but Mini's actually going to go gate Nexus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, I think it's a pretty solid opening overall. It's very, very modern right now to go like Nexus, then you make a Zealot, send across the map, and get up to Goons. And we'll see how JYJ wants to play against it here. It really matters if he scouts it first or second as well, how well he'll be able to react. And he will scout it first. Okay, so that's pretty good for JYJ. But yeah, I feel like there isn't like a set response to this build yet from TVP, right? Like if you're going for a factory expand and it's Nexus first, you will rush it generally. Here, like, I think he has several options. Like, I think he'll probably just Vulture expand, but I guess we'll see in a second.
Yeah, very good deflection there from the SCV. As Zealot tries to come forward. 4 hits to kill an SCV. It's going to come in a little bit regardless of that. You know, from the Terrence perspective, Artosis, picking your brain here a little bit, I mean, what is the greediest thing the Terran can do, and then what is the absolute most aggro thing you can do when you see this?
Okay, most aggro would be the SCV Marine Vulture attack. On some maps, you can do that against this. This map in particular, it's very hard to do that because of the little choke you have to go through, and it's kind of a longer rush distance. So I would say that in general on this map, that's part of the reason why Nexus First is so good, because it's very hard to rush correctly. So that would be the most aggro thing that you could do. And as far as greed, it would be like one factory Vulture expand into a third base. Which is doable.
Wow,
like you can go speed, you can go mines. Mines are a little bit more common. But you see he's going Vulture first, and that'll allow him to kind of control the map a little bit. But we'll see, like, does he want to stay on 2 base? Does he want to just jump up immediately to a third if you lay those mines down? Like, look at Mini's build. He's not going to have observers for quite some time.
It is an interesting thing, these quick third command centers. You know, you would think that the Protoss could just run across and kill the Terran, but if they don't have detection, they really would be... It'd be a bit of a foolhardy move, right? To just come out onto a map that could have mines, that could have counters out there.
Yeah, and, and there's some things like that, Tastosis, that are midway that you see Protoss do sometimes, where they're just like, yeah, I think there's mines out there, but probably not on this path. And they'll take some path that like takes longer to get there, but is less likely to have mines. So, yeah, there's all sorts of different small gambles that you can take here.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Nexus right away does not lend itself to observers right away. That is the one thing you're sacrificing, is your tech is later, and therefore your intel's later. I mean, most of the history of this matchup, oh, I love this dive in here. That's like a player that really just knows exactly what's going to hurt the Terran and knows that Vulture is so important.
Well, I hope he can actually kill this off. Look, it's going to scout for the third. Oh, he doesn't actually get up there in time because the second Vulture comes, so he did not actually get vision of that third. But he knows that it could be there. Like, you could see him trying to scout for it. Now, mines should be finishing about now. So JYJ going to want to lay those down. Oh, the Zealots are coming. Like, this is still killable with the Vultures for sure. But he's got to get his mines down. He's like got these very okay. Oh, the missed shot there as well. Oh, I like this for JYJ right now.
Yeah, JYJ's in pretty good shape, and you know this could be very punishing for the Protoss here.
Look at that, though. He traps him. Oh, he doesn't get it. Oh, the Goon does not go forward.
It looks like the Zealot was being pulled by the Dragoon like it was a dog sled there. So he's going to come up here. He snipes the one Vulture. The other wounded Vulture gets away. The problem is that unless he can just Bisu no-scope 360 his way through the mines, there's nothing that you can do. So here we go.
Yeah, the mines on both sides there. He can't shoot both of them. Oh, he got that one. Are you kidding me? Tasteless.
That's insane. And, you know, if the Dragoons can get in range of the workers, that's when things become extremely bad. keep in mind you could always just dive onto a mine and then use that to kill workers as well.
Yeah. I tell you, Tasteless, I like this from Mini, as kind of apish as it is. I really, like, I mean, he is busting in here. He's dealing lots of damage to JYJ. JYJ is sitting there probably thinking, oh my god, I can't believe that he is still coming. Like, he's walking into mines and stuff, but it's working.
No, it's working, and it's working brilliantly. And, you know, in the bunker, that's a pretty good sandbagging maneuver, but of course Dragoons, as we all know, outrange a bunker. And so with a tank coming up here, he will be able to try to force this away. You got to be careful, though, man. These mines planted here, all it takes is for one Dragoon to kamikaze into the mines.
Well, you see that path he just took, Tasteless? That's exactly what I'm talking about, where you just take like a weird path, and the mines can't be everywhere. So he gets into the third. Now he walks up, does lose another goon and takes some damage. I mean, he's running into a lot of mines, but like the amount of damage he's putting on, he's like causing lost SCV mining time. He's killing SCVs. He's forcing bunkers and Marines. He's picking off units. He's going Reaver in his third base during all this.
This is pretty wild. Basically, to what Tastosis was saying, the mines are positioned so that if you were to right-click the Dragoon from your main, or A-click, from your main or from your gateway to the location, they would end up being hit by the mines. But you're right, you can take the long way around, and we're not in a meta where there are mines planted in random locations. So he's still able to put this pressure on, but you got to be careful here. If you feed too much into the Terran and lose too many Dragoons here, the Terran is going to have a pretty nice counterattack set up.
Yeah, and look, I think that the way that Mini played this, he should be pretty happy with how it ended up turning out, because there were some risky things put in here. Now with the Reaver, like, he has some potential here. Let's see how he does this. He's going to bring this in, the Zealot. Oh my god, he drags 4 mines with the Zealot, kills the Siege Tank, draws a mine there, kills the other Siege Tank, and Mini is just busting everything now.
Yeah, Mini, I think, is one of the few Protosses that could really crack open a Terran like this. And, you know, as has been the popular trend in the meta now, Reaver busting of bunkers is just the way to do it, really making the bunker the one thing that was allowing the Terran to stay in the game, suddenly no more.
Yeah, the Reaver just destroying. I think we're going to be seeing GG here. This is too much damage. JYJ is not going to be able to recover. And a strong victory. GG. Mini takes game number 1. I gotta say, Tasteless, like, it's very refreshing to see Mini play like that, because I watched so many pro games, and I'll watch the Terran lay, 6 mines, 9 mines. Yeah. And the Protoss will just sit in their base for 100 years, and the Terran maxes out, and it's like, look at that, PvP. And I'm sitting here on the ladder, Tasteless, and everyone just runs through the mines and runs around the mines, and it's hard as hell to hold anything. And that's what Mini just did, and he killed JYJ. And it's, that's, wow, cathartic is the word once again.
And you saw Mini in that shot after he won. He's still not having a good day. He's angry.
Well,
Yeah. You could see he's still pissed from the 8-15 game. That wasn't an easy game for him either. I think most Protosses in the entire world, 99.9%, try that and it backfires. And JYJ wins the game before he even has a couple of factories up because they step in the mines. But Mini is somebody who knows how to navigate that. And that requires extremely precise multitasking with very little room for errors. So props to him for that. We're going to go to Revolver now for map number 2.
All right. Revolver, I'm not sure exactly how this will go down. We've seen some TVPs on Revolver, but, hopefully JYJ can bring it back, bring us to a game 3.
All right, our game is ready. Game 2 now. If JYJ loses here, it's curtains for him, Tastosis.
Curtains!
It's curtains! So good luck. I hope we do have a game 3 with these two.
Right, so we have Mini in the bottom right. Bottom left, we are going to have JYJ.
I wonder about bottom spawns on this. You are fairly close together. Travel distance on ground, pretty close. Drop distance, obviously very close.
Yeah, you know, again, we've seen some games here, but not that many. Not entirely sure. Like the biggest one that comes to mind is a game that you and I casted together. I believe it was Light playing against like Mass Carrier on this map.
Right.
But I guess we'll just see. Like I'm sure they're both going to open very, very modern openers.
Well, we did see Mini go for Nexus first. I wonder about him going Nexus first this time. I don't know if it's as desirable to do. It does seem like one thing about this map is if you're neighbors with your opponent, the rush distance is pretty quick, so you might not feel as confident doing that. So Mini's going to be going for gate first.
Yeah, and see if he gets that gas with it or not. The barracks going down here for JYJ. I think he will be going gas here. Definitely has been preferring a lot of, again, heavier two-base builds, even though that game, like you asked, right? Like, what is kind of the greedy play? And he went for that game, trying to get that third base up. But as far as Revolver goes, I'm trying to think of the games I've seen here with three-base TVP, like, quickly. And I don't think there's, like, a great location for him to take in these spawns that he can hold on to quickly, right?
Doesn't seem like it does there.
I don't think so.
I think we should have a pretty different looking game.
So it is the Gateway expansion here for Mini. Once again, having that Zealot on the way here. SCV going to scout that right away. Wouldn't be surprised to see the SCV Marine Vulture attack on this. I think it's a lot easier to break him on this map than it would be on the previous map that we just saw.
I wonder how much this opener from Mini is going to pick up. He really is just changing how Protoss work.
Yeah, I
thought in that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say it's been pretty popular for about 3 weeks. I want to say, maybe it's 4 weeks now. I don't know. I lose track of time, man. I'm in my house too much, but all my days run together. But yeah, it's been out there. Like, people are doing this build, but I feel like it's lost a little popularity lately. Maybe with Mini doing it here, it'll regain some. And this is going to be the rush, by the way, from JYJ.
Okay. So this, by the way, if you're a student of Terran, this is one of the things you have to know how to do. And it's very hard to do. If done correctly, it can be strong, but this is like the, if different rushes were different Star Wars ships, this is the TIE Fighter. Like, it has no shields. And, it's very flimsy. This is like, if done correctly, this can be very good, but it can absolutely completely deteriorate and fall apart if it's not handled perfectly.
Well, here JYJ is doing this very confidently. He's only sending 6 SCVs. So if he messes up at all, the Zealots will get on top of the Marines and he will lose. So let's see how he holds this. The first Dragoon is out, which makes it a little bit tougher. Trying to bring these units up. 2 SCVs stuck behind the Marines. So that is a big issue there. He is really clogged up with these eggs.
Yeah, and now it's 3 Marines and a Vulture. Again, Protoss hasn't lost any units yet. The Zealot goes down here. And, from a Protoss perspective, I would be very confident right now. There's not enough SCVs to make a bunker realistically. The Vultures can come in here. They are beginning to kill some workers, but again, you're willing to trade off some of your workers in a rush like this because, of course, Terran already sent 6 SCVs.
Yeah, like, looking at that, this is... Okay, he's going Starport. Tastosis, I think Mini's going to be going to the finals here of this group tonight because this situation is terrible. If you send the SCV Marine Vulture and it doesn't work, all your follow-ups are so slow and so weak. Like, even if you kill the Nexus, the game is normally about even. If they pulled their probes back, it's basically even. Here, he's going to be way far behind. He doesn't really have anything to deal with ranged Dragoons. You see 2 Goons up here? He might actually just have to GG here, Tastosis.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragoons alone can basically beat this. You need a bunker. Vultures and Marines will always lose to Dragoons if the Dragoons have an open enough terrain to fight on. So, the Vulture goes down, the second one. 2 vultures can 3-shot a vulture. 2 dragoons can 3-shot a vulture. So this is already pretty bad. And again, I mean, the dragoons attacking up here are enough of a problem, but the fact that Terran has no command center, even made, like sitting in the main waiting to land, and the only thing he can hope for is a drop ship, and the longer there's no command center there, the more obvious to many it becomes that's the only ace up his sleeve he would have.
Yeah, and he's making a Sim City right now that basically blocks vultures that drop on the edge of the base from getting the minerals quickly, so he's already kind of prepped. And you're definitely right, like a tank hasn't even tried to poke down the ramp yet. So yeah, I think Mini, like if he doesn't pull 2 dragoons into his main base really shortly here, then he's being silly.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you see the lack of tanks, you go, well, the gas has to have gone somewhere, right?
Yeah, now he flies over that pylon. Speed is done. This is, I think this is the end of Terran games here tonight.
Yeah, this is looking pretty rough. The drop ship is inbound here. The problem is that, even if he gets probe kills, you could remake the probes.
Yeah, like, how many probes does he have to kill here to be ahead? It's
quite a
astronomical. Like, if he killed all the probes at one base, he's now on even economy, but Protoss gets ahead again because they produce probes off 2 bases. So, like, while this can be a good drop, and honestly, like, you look at that drop, it's like, okay, that did well, but then you look over at Terran base and realize he doesn't have a natural. It's like, well, it's not so good, is it?
No, it is not, Artosis. And now we have observers looking up into the high ground and killing all these mines. I think we're going to have GG in a second here. There's just not a whole lot that can actually happen. Yeah, that's it, man. GG. When the Protoss does a build like that, the Terran is given a series of choices. And when you do a rush like that, I'll tell you what, if it doesn't work out perfectly, all your other options are gone.
Yeah, I think JYJ just still needs some tournament experience. Like, he's got a good amount, but I feel like this situation, when I saw him pull just 6 SCVs, that was kind of like, oh, in your optimal game and practice, you might be able to do this with 6 SCVs. With this much stress on the line and Mini being as clutch as he is, you need to commit fully to this. You can't be pulling 6 because your economy would be slightly better. You need to be pulling the standard 8. You need to make sure that they're getting up the ramp and they're not glitching and getting behind your Marines, because if it doesn't work, you lose and you're out.
Mini is going to get his rematch and, dare I say, his revenge. Going up against 815, JYJ will have to wait for another season in another year.
All right, guys, quick commercial break, and then our final match of the night, Mini versus 815. Woo!
함께 모이면 홈파티. 홈파티엔 먹방. 먹방엔 칠성사이다. 맛있어. 맛있는 자리에 빠질 수 없는 청량함. 칠성사이다.
울트라 기어로 선명하게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터.
퇴근하고 뭐해? 퇴근하고? 오늘은 유셰프, 내일은 유러너, 주말엔 유목수? 그걸 다? 본캐부터 부캐까지 하고 싶은 게 많은 요즘 시대의 커피. 칸타타 콘트라베이스.
디자인하면서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 부분은 울트라 기어의 차별화된 브랜드 메시지를 잘 나타내는 것입니다. 신과 영웅들의 최강의 무기들을 검토하였습니다. 그중 니케의 승리의 날개를 모티브로 지금의 울트라 기어의 로고가 탄생하게 되었습니다. 울트라 기어의 이니셜인 U와 G를 비상하는 날개의 형상으로 레드 색상을 사용하여 강력한 에너지와 힘을 나타내었습니다. 울트라 기어는 최상의 퍼포먼스로 진정한 게임의 즐거움, 승리의 기쁨을 여러분께 선사할 것입니다.
Gazing at the blue of the night, stars are filling up the sky. You take my hand in yours, we'll make our own constellations. I could say how much you mean to me, but it won't mean a thing, 'cause words never sound quite right. Let's find our own kind of language. We have searched the whole world and all around it. Didn't know what we were looking for till we found it. They could say they've seen the highest mountain, bottom of the deepest sea, but no one's ever seen a love like this. They could dig up all the baby treasures where it's worth more than anything, but no one's ever seen a love like walking down the crowded street, moving to our different beat. All eyes are on us now. Oh, but we don't care, do we? Oh, I can't imagine a world where anyone loves anyone like I love you. They could say they've seen the highest mountain, bottom of the deepest sea, but no one's ever seen a love like this. They could dig up all the baby treasures where it's worth more than anything, but no one's ever seen a love like Nobody's ever seen it. Nobody's ever seen a love. Nobody's ever seen a love like this. A love like this. We have searched the whole world and all around it. Didn't know what we were looking for till we found it. They could say they've seen the highest mountain, bottom of the deepest sea, but no one's ever seen a love like this. They could dig up all the baby treasures where it's worth more than anything, but no one's ever seen.
The final match of the evening starts now. Not just any match, but a rematch. 8:15 really colored the entire mood of this Group A by upsetting Mini in what I want to say is an under 3-minute game. A very, honestly, I think in the current meta, ordinary way for Protoss to lose the game outright, which is to lose the gateway to Lings, whether they be speed or slow. And, I mean, 8:15, I think, did a good opening, man. It's a best of one, and sometimes best of ones can be the most punishing experiences in a competitive StarCraft format, but he killed the gateway. Now, is Mini going to go gateway first again? Is he going to send that Zealot in again like he did before? Is he going to avoid that? Mini is one of these players that's capable of 2-gate or 1-gate as well. This should be an interesting PvZ, and again, 8:15 is playing out of his mind. Making Soma work for the wins even.
Oh, totally. Like, he's not a player that you would think of in the round of 16.
Or
honestly,
you
not
cut out
even
my
in
headset.
ASL. Oh, yeah, no, I'm still here, Tasteless. But 8:15 is not a player that you really think of when you think of ASL. And here he is, so close to the round of 8, which is such a gigantic deal. But a best of 3 against Mini is a difficult one.
Yeah, and Mini's got a real range. I do think Mini needs to, and I already said this in the first game, but I'm going to stick with it. I think he needs to pump the brakes. I think he needs to play much more conservatively. I think he needs to play much more cautiously, because the way you die to Zergs in the early game is you're a little bit too cavalier. You're a little bit too ambitious. And I think that 815 does not have the kind of strength, the kind of muscle that Mini has in a longer game, but Mini has to get that tech up. Anyways, guys, our game is ready. This is game 1 in the best of 3, the rematch of 815 versus Mini.
So in the bottom left of Eclipse, we're going to have Mini. And in the top right, we're going to have 815. Well, Eclipse, I mean, we've had so many games on Eclipse at this point. It is such a standard map for us now. And I got to ask myself, what type of trick can 815 use here? Because I don't think he can feel that confident with just going into a very standard macro game, right? I don't think his Hydra Lurker macro is going to be the thing that kills Mini. I think he needs that edge.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun one, because 815's had, honestly, the ride of his life for where we kind of viewed him before ASL Season 12 started, and the games he's brought to us so far. It's been pretty crazy. So let's see what happens in this series. Now, it looks like Mini is going to set up for what appears to be the pretty popular play from the pros on this map, which is to basically go for the optional Nexus on 12. So you scout around here, you come in, and you basically see, okay, are you going to go pool first? Because if you're going to hatch first, or if you're playing, at all passively. Oh, he wants to set up for a cannon rush, too. That's funny. That makes sense. I thought it was... That's so funny. So if this is not hatch right away...
Wow.
Yeah.
He's going cannon rush. His second probe is coming right now, Tasteless.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that is tricky. That is very tricky. He knows exactly the vision.
815, and he tricked me as well. Oh, 815's going to check.
Oh.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Yeah, okay, so Mini right now, let's see if he, obviously we know the tricks, build a pylon here so the drone can't jump back. Should be seeing that momentarily.
He wants to take the gas if he can.
Yeah, he's trying to use those gas cancels, by the way, to slide off onto that location, but already we have the cannon making, so there's no space to slide off onto. Now, he gets the second probe behind, makes the wall so it stays safe. You need this probe out so you can build more cannons, because the one back there is stuck.
Right.
So he starts another cannon here, but he will cancel this pylon as it is about to finish, so he can get out to make more support cannons if need be.
Yep, you're 100% correct, Tastosis. So, right now, 815 has to decide, is he going to cancel or does he want to stay and fight? And the general rule is you want to try to stay and fight. You really can't afford to give this up. The drones are damaging this probe quite a bit. And now what he wants to do is body block.
Is it correct to body block so much that you end up losing the probe? Does he I guess he doesn't need another cannon, does he?
Well, it's never correct to lose a probe, if that makes sense, but it does happen. The question will be, when the sunks finish, can the Lings come in here and do damage with them? And he's going to use the cannons to basically try to fight. I think 815 might have come in here slightly too early.
Well, he's trying to do something here to actually kill off that hatchery in time. 815, he's trying to save the hatch hard.
He's trying to kill the pylon here so he can make because the sunken colony is trying to hit that pylon so it can hit. There's a glitch where you tell it to stop as it attacks, and it actually shoots further and hits the cannons. This rush has succeeded, and this game is over.
All right. That was a fast one.
Yep.
And Mini with the very tricky play, sliding around the map, hiding in that like 1 to 2 pixel area where the drone just won't see you. And the funny thing is, if it's like a bad Zerg, they might over-click the drone when they're making the hatchery and then see the probe, and it never works.
Right.
But he's counting on 815 being good enough that he actually gets the hatchery down like on time at the right location. He's not screwing around at that moment.
And I thought it was going to be Nexus on 12 in case there was anything greedy. But I stand corrected. That was a smart move there by Mini. You know, cannon rushes were very popular in the first stage of the meta on this map, and then they went out of style because they were overused. So all the Zergs got good at holding them. But to do something sneaky like that, it's like, you know, you're pulling off a magic trick or something. And, you know, it's too late once you find out what they're doing. So Mini with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, not quite able to do anything against that, unfortunately. The cannon rush is still very powerful if it can be pulled off. It's just getting that extra trick in to make it actually work. So well done by Mini, but that was a very fast game. Getting a little bit of revenge for losing his gate in game number 1 today.
No honor in these PVZs tonight here, Tastosis.
No, certainly none of that. But what will 815 rally back with now?
That's a good question. I mean, it was definitely a game where Mini got to make his move first, right? 815 barely got to even get drones out before the cannon rush started. Let's see what happens on the map Ascension.
All right, Ascension it is. I have felt like this is a little bit Zerg favored with those high ground areas that the Hydra Lurker is so hard to break on, but that hasn't been 815's style, so is that going to come into play?
That is the question. Let's get this going. Game 2. Right now, Mini with the 1-0 lead. The winner survives to the next step of ASL. The loser is out.
Okay, so Mini in that bottom left, and 815 up at 12 o'clock.
So, I don't normally bring this up this early, but I did want to see if there was any kind of like a 4 pool or a 5 pool that might come here. You know, 815 is really gone for most of the extreme builds and you know, the Zergs can do to kind of get wins as fast as possible, and Mini has definitely matched him with that hidden cannon rush, which, by the way, is only going to work against Hatch first. I mean, if they go pool or anything else, you can't just willy-nilly make cannons there, but clearly Mini did his homework and was ready.
Yeah, it was a very well-prepped build there. I think I'll bet you that he had that prepped for Soma for the winners match, right?
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. That's a good point. It was certainly not something he was like, and if I face 815 on this map, I got to do this.
Yeah, he never thought that was a possibility. He thought he'd play him on Polypoid once and then win the group. 100%.
Yeah. And so for now, we wait to see, is it pool first or hatch first? And it looks like it is going to be a hatchery first. Now, Mini is going into a, you know, the standard modern PVZ opening of Gateway first. And again, you know, Mini in the previous ASL really revolutionized the way we see this build used. One that not only has the opportunity to be aggressive or defensive, but also cut corners. And, you know, this is a strong build in part because it gives the Protoss a lot more ability to be active and engage the other player, where, you know, the traditional historic PVZ opener, which was Forge Expand, you know, it was a tough one to pull off, but didn't really give you the option to kind of mix it up and kind of change your builds around anywhere near as much as Gateway first does.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like it's more enjoyable to watch and play PVZ now, because the Forge openers were like, they were around for so long, and it was so just like a math game.
Right.
Whereas there's so much more finesse with this all. It's like, what do you do with these? Like, do you want to run and buy minerals? Are you trying to dive on drones? Are you hiding them on the map? You know, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, which just kind of adds depth to an already the deepest game.
And this time around, we've got the pool coming down here. We're going to have what looks like 6 slings coming. We do not have the gas taken yet. I just want to point out there are openings where you go hatch on 12 into gas and just get Ling's speed and do an all-in where you try to tear down their entrance. So that's not coming this time around.
No. Now this drone wants to make a third base, but Mini harassing it really, really well, bringing his probe up there as well. Looks like he wants to run away. He knows that there are Lings on the way, but the second Zealot joins up, so goes back towards that hatch. That's a lot of Lings. Okay, yeah, he's going to run behind the mineral patches here, and that's impossible to kill with those Lings.
Yeah, and this is really keeping the pressure on the Zerg. When you have this kind of build-up. Now, again, it can be a double-edged sword because you don't have that much at home. And in fact, these Lings are going to come across the map right now. This is kind of crazy, Artosis, and this is definitely Mini putting himself into a dicey position. But 815 isn't that comfortable as well. Now, I like the battery he throws down here. That's an interesting move.
Well, I think he needs everything that he can possibly get at the moment. This is a lot of Zerglings coming in. At the same time, he goes for this counterattack. The gateway being attacked now. He does have 3 Zealots. Probes coming out. I think he's going to hold it home very well here.
He's also wedged his Zealots behind the mineral patches up in the main here, taking some damage, and also fighting these drones in a kind of an insane back and forth.
Yeah, look at this. His Zealot's doing a very good job on defense, on offense. He's killing drones. He's killing Lings. This game is looking very good for Mini at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, this Zealot is able to basically solo fight these Lings, which is always what you want to have when you're using a Zealot, is to basically just have isolated engagements with Lings and never be surrounded. And now that I'm looking at this game and basically the fighting's done on both sides, I think that Mini is in a vastly superior position.
Oh, yes. It looks amazing for Mini right now. The fact that he has his cannon up, he has plenty of Zealots. The drone count is just terrible for 815. He's got a lot of Lings coming across the map right now. I'm not sure what the plan is. I think he should Hydra Bust from here, though.
Yeah, you know, I think the fact that there's a battery here at the entrance makes a Hydra Bust really desirable. And I always feel like we need to put a little aside here for the people that follow StarCraft 2 and watch ASL, is that StarCraft 1 batteries are not StarCraft 2 batteries and do not save you against almost anything in the game other than Lings for like a second, or Zealots.
They can be useful, but they're one of the most least used structures in the game. He's actually killing it, as you see, because he knows that could occur, but it's kind of funny because with this Sling Rush coming, that's actually pretty useful.
Right. I think he's thinking about making more cannons back here, and this Sling Rush is a threat, but I think the volume of Zealots that are waiting behind the wall means that he's probably okay. I think that basically 815 is going to try to flood this, and he's probably going to fail outright. In fact, I don't even think he'll be able to kill the gateway. And even if
I think he'll kill the gate. He has like a lot of Lings, more coming down right now. But how do you break through the rest of it is the problem.
Yeah, you were wrong. I was wrong about that gateway. That dies immediately. But you can basically just plug this with probes and Zealots. And you know, the issue is that once these Lings are not here anymore, you're able to then plug this back up with buildings again, and you're back to square one as a Zerg. And so this is a pretty insane hold. Really beautifully done here by Mini. And, you know, he just goes right back to the original plan. Makes the gateway. He should make some more cannons here because the Zerg is very unlikely to succeed by trying to go back and make drones behind this.
And in fact, he is going for that Hydralus Den right now, rallying down so many Zerglings once again, just staying completely all in throughout. You can't blame him for it. There's less Zealots here. There's a gate that can be broken quickly because it's just warping in. Let's see if he can do better this time, I guess.
Yeah, he's going to go for it once more. And I'll tell you what, these probes better haul ass and get over here immediately. Now, you can squeeze another forge because it's smaller than the gateway. That's what he does. A forge or a pylon. It's one of the two. And that basically corks that entrance once more. And really good control here by Mini. He is a god when it comes to just managing this. GG. Oh, and it was a scout to close it out. I love that.
Yeah. I was wondering if possibly that could be it, because he knows with Pierre Ling, it's like you send a scout across the map, you're going to literally kill everything.
Yeah, you'll kill every single drone.
Perfectly played series here from Mini. Just it blocks the cheese, does the cheese himself, wins with a scout, has that style, goes on to the round of 8, and well done. Gets his revenge on 815, who had a great tournament.
Yeah, that was, I think, a great run from him. And I think Mini redeemed himself by quite a bit there. I think he had a rough opening. And I think that 815, we got to see in 2 of the 3 games what he had planned, because the cannon rush basically puts him on the reacting side. But we got to see that he, I think, has a solid understanding of how to punish Protoss early on. And I think Mini once again reasserts why so many Protoss players around the world are studying him.
All right, so Mini going on. We're going to have a quick interview from him. See how he's feeling about that.
ASL 시즌12 16강 A조 경기 모두 함께 하셨습니다. 오늘의 두 번째 8강 진출자, 지난 시즌 준우승자였죠. 변현재 선수 만나보겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
오늘 첫 경기에서 일격을 당한 이후 내리 4번의 세트를 따내면서 이렇게 다시 한번 8강 진출에 성공하셨습니다. 순간 철렁하는 순간도 있으셨을 텐데 그 이후에 변현재 선수 본인의 경기력을 되찾았어요. 8강 진출하신 소감은 어떠신가요?
일단 첫 번째 경기 질 거라고 생각을 못했는데 제가 이제 VOD랑 다 봐도 이제 병우 형님이 무조건 11한마당을 하더라고요. 그래서 이제 저도 게이트를 좀 빨리 짓고, 원래 머릿속은 드론을 이제 뭉치게 만들고 이제 저글링을 줄여야 된다는 생각을 가지고 있었어요. 그런데 하다 보니까 드론이 계속 잡을 수 있는 것 같더라고요.
네.
그래가지고 저글링을 하나도 못 잡아가지고 좀 링올인에 좀 밀렸던 것 같아요.
그만큼 배병호 선수가 드론을 정말 잘 비비기도 했고, 이후에 다수의 저글링이 들어왔을 때 변현재 선수가 좀 무력하게 좀 경기를 내줄 수밖에 없었는데, 그때 경험 때문인지 최종전에서는 저글링에 대한 대처가 굉장히 좋았습니다. 특히 마지막 두 번째 세트 저글링 다수를 보자마자 배터리에 캐논까지 완벽하게 좀 건설을 하셨어요.
원래는 그렇게 막아야 되는데
네.
첫 번째 경기 때 너무 긴장했던 나머지 제 플레이를 좀 못했던 것 같아요.
배병훈 선수와의 첫 번째 세트도 전진 캐논 러쉬를 시도하셨는데 위치가 굉장히 절묘했거든요. 연습 때 좀 이 위치에 대해서 어느 정도 생각을 하셨나요?
네, 제가 예전부터 가끔씩 쓰던 빌드였거든요. 이제 2인용 맵일 때 이제 마당의 구석에 있으면 좀 안 보이는 맵들이 거의 다 안 보이더라고요. 그래서 이제 병호 형님이 항상 이제 마당을 먼저 먹는 걸 좋아하셔가지고 이제 하게 됐습니다.
정영재 선수와의 패자전에서도 아무래도 스타일상 상성에 좀 자신감 때문인지 굉장히 좀 변현재 선수의 플레이를 제대로 잘 풀어낸 듯한 느낌이 있었어요. 특히 정영재 선수가 마인 트리플을 시도했는데 드라군, 소수 드라군으로 굉장히 집요하게 흔드는 모습도 있었거든요. 상대 빌드 어느 정도 예상하셨나요?
일단은 그 토스본님이라고 그분이 이제 만드신 빌드인데 이번 ASL 맵에서 좀 괜찮더라고요. 3인용에 이제 러쉬 거리도 멀고 그래서 이제 그 빌드를 하게 되는데 제가 그것도 이제 처음에 긴장을 하다 보니 건물 순서도 좀 제대로 못 지었거든요. 그래가지고 어쩔 수 없이 플레이 해야겠다 생각했는데 좀 뭔가 드라군이 이득을 많이 보더라고요. 그러고 이제 드랍십을 좀 많이 생각을 하고 있었는데 안 오길래 아차 싶었어요. 원래 영재 형이 마인 트리플 빌드를 좋아해가지고
네.
그 순간 이제 리버를 준비하겠다고 갑자기 생각했어요.
이후에 셔틀 리버로 정말 휘몰아치면서 경기를 끝내셨는데 변현재 선수가 저그 단판전에 좀 자신이 없다라고 경기 전 이야기를 하셨는데 이제 단판전은 끝났습니다. 8강에서의 다전제만이 남아있는데 이제 변현재 선수가 조금 더 날아다닐 수 있는 장이 만들어지지 않았나 싶어요?
일단 근데 맵이 생각보다 좀 어렵다고 생각하거든요. 저그전이. 그래도 이제 다전제는 좀 자신이 있다 보니 8강까지는 어떻게든 해볼 수 있을 것 같아요.
8강에 올라간다면 또 한 번의 자신감을 얻고 추진력을 얻고 또 더 높은 곳을 노릴 변현재 선수인데요. 그런 변현재 선수의 모습을 팬분들이 굉장히 바라고 있습니다. 팬들에게도 한 말씀 전해주시죠.
일단 첫 경기 지는 바람에 좀 걱정하신 분들이 많았을 텐데 그래도 일단 8강 올라가서 다행이고 이제 그래도 이제 다전제니까 이제 단판 걱정은 안 해도 되니까 8강 때는 좀 준비를 잘해가지고 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
네, 오늘 다시 한번 승리 축하드리고요. 8강에서 더 멋진 모습 기대하겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 해서 16강 A조의 두 번째 8강 진출자.
All right, and here we have the results of Group A. Soma takes it down.
Behold.
Yes, behold. Soma in mini advance, as expected, but there were some upsets, and it was crazy.
Oh. This has been an amazing Group A. Honestly, you know, I mean, the guys that got out, but it was really the story that was more important, right? And especially that Soma JYJ game. I mean, that's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, that game was unbelievable. I can't believe he won that. He really deserved to win this group. Just amazingly played, and a big shout-out to 815 for putting out some great games here tonight. He took risks where he needed to. He got really far in the tournament. Congrats to him.
And I know we joke about him, you know, before he came in, but really props to him. Group B is just around the corner. We're about to get that recording out to you guys as soon as possible.
Yes, Hero, Noob, Free, and Royal. It's a tough group, right? Like, Hero, Free, and Royal are all really high up in the ranks within their respective races. Of course, Noob kind of the underdog guy here. We're going to see if he can make waves once again after eliminating Sharp in the last round.
Yeah, that should be a fun one. I really do wonder where Free is at exactly. I still feel like I have a hard time putting my finger on exactly where he ranks with everybody else. But, you know, he's one of these truly legendary players. Also, guys, quick reminder, you know, we appreciate all the love on Patreon, and now we want to give back to Patreon supporters. We have a secret mini podcast we do before we start the show. You can hear our banter, our conversations, our back and forth before we do the ASL. We want to share that with you.
Yeah, so definitely do check that out. In fact, that's probably already up at this time. So yeah, do check that on the Patreon page. But yeah, this first group, we definitely had some funny, quick games. And honestly, I was a little bit disappointed in the JYJ versus Mini series. I thought that could have been a really great series, but turned out to be very, very fast. Hoping to see Royal really represent in Group B here. And I mean, of course, I can't wait, Tasteless, until we get to do Group C. That's gonna be the real one.
Group C is gonna be. I got to get my Group C advent calendar out, Tastosis. Every day leading up to it, I got to look at a great game from one of these players in Group C. It's going to be wild. And truly, when that is concluded, we're going to have a much better idea of exactly what this tournament's going to look like, because anybody who gets through that group could easily win.
Yeah. And honestly, the two guys who got through tonight, these are guys that we're looking at to possibly win as well. They're both runner-ups from ASL and definitely could do it again. They've been on hot streaks.
Guys, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. Group B is going to be released very quickly. If you're watching this right now, Group B may already be up. So, guys, take care. We will see you again soon. We love you. Bye-bye.